Chapter 1340. You can only blame Jin Yuanzi for this. To make such a rule, if Li Yu wanted to enter the sect, he could only climb the heavenly stairway and pass the heavenly gate. After passing the first heavenly gate, there was a steep and narrow mountain path behind. On the high cliff, there was a small path that looked like a ladder. It was less than 2 feet wide, and there were even many places that were broken. Other than that, there were all kinds of dangers on this heavenly stairway. Poisonous insects, thorns, traps, attacks from birds of prey, all kinds of difficulties were simply endless. Unfortunately, this is just a painting. Yes, the entire Qianyuan Mountain Assembly was actually a painting that Qian Mingzi opened. All the tests and everything was a world in the painting. This kind of trick like the world in the painting is also something that I have played. Back in the Desolate World, Li used a painting to play the Chinese ghost story game with Ji Ning and the others. Compared to Li Yu's methods, Zhen Yuanzi's world in the painting was just so. The Eye of Chaos had already seen through everything. All kinds of difficulties and obstacles were simply child's play in front of Li Yu. Therefore, after Li Yu passed the first heavenly gate, he didn't stop at all. He easily stepped on the heavenly stairway and walked towards the second heavenly gate. Not afraid of difficulties and obstacles, his heart is as firm as iron, and he doesn't shrink back. This kid's talent is outstanding, and his temperament is excellent. Unfortunately, Qian Mingzi sighed again. Even if he passed the first heavenly gate very quickly, the later stages are too difficult. Li Yu passed the first stage, but there was no need to pay too much attention to him, because it was almost impossible for anyone to copy Qian Mingzi's method. No one could pass the 9 heavenly gates. All right, focus, Qian Mingzi shouted to the people below. Don't be distracted, you all still have to go through the entrance test. Yes. Hearing Qian Mingzi shout, everyone was startled and woke up. They knew that now wasn't the time to watch the show. They still had to pass the entrance test. Taking a deep breath, everyone calmed themselves down and focused their attention on the entrance test that was about to begin. Everyone had a serious expression on their faces as they waited for the test to begin. Boom! Suddenly, another earth-shattering explosion sounded. Brilliant rays of light illuminated the world as the second divine gate appeared. The crowd, who had just calmed down, was once again filled with shock. The green-robed young man suddenly passed through the second gate of heaven. How long had it been? How long had it been? Are you trying to break through? Or was he in a hurry? The legendary 9 gates of heaven that were said to be incomparably difficult and impossible to pass. How could it be so easy? Don't tell me. He can really pass through the 9 heavenly gates? That's impossible, right? Qian Mingzi was also shocked for a long time. How long did it take me to pass the second stage? 3 days? Or 5 days? He didn't even have 15 minutes, right? Why was the gap between people so huge? Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a series of rumbles exploded in the void as heavenly gates appeared one after another. Amidst the resplendent rays of light, that green-robed young man sped all the way, advancing courageously and unstoppable. In this short moment, he actually charged through the 6th gate of heaven in one breath. How is this possible? Qian Mingzi was shocked until his jaw almost dropped. Was this still breaking through? This speed of yours isn't any worse than flying on a sword, right? Could it be that the difficulties and dangers along the way simply didn't exist to you? My God, what's going on? The cultivators below were all dumbstruck, completely scared silly. Wasn't it said that passing through was incomparably difficult? Wasn't it said that no one could pass through? Why do I keep feeling that that fellow is just like taking a stroll, casually charging through? Don't tell me. The gate of heaven hasn't been open for many years and is already broken. Right? It must be broken. Otherwise, how could it be passed through so quickly? To the group of cultivators below, passing through the gate of heaven was like taking a stroll. This completely exceeded their imagination. How could it be broken? Qian Mingzi was naturally clear that the tests of the entire Qianyuan Grand Meeting were a painting. A painting personally drawn by the ancestor of the earthly immortal realm, Grand Immortal Jin Yuan. How could such a treasure be broken? Could it be that he's really able to pass through the 9 gates of heaven? This is impossible, right? It's not that the first 6 gates of heaven can't be passed through, but it's utterly impossible to pass through the last 3. Qian Mingzi himself had passed through the gate of heaven, ascended the stairway to heaven, and stepped into this gate of heaven. He was extremely clear about the difficulty of every test. The first 6 tests were extremely difficult, but so long as one's heart was firm, so long as one had willpower, courage, and wisdom, it wasn't impossible to pass through. But the last 3 gates of heaven tested one's fortune. Fortune? Who could say for sure about this thing? How could it be considered as having fortune? This was completely relying on luck. Bang! The 7th gate of heaven appeared. The azure-clothed youth slashed with his sword, and the gate of heaven opened as if it wasn't obstructed at all. He took a step forward and floated away. Bang! The 8th gate of heaven appeared. The azure-clothed youth still didn't stop in the slightest and casually waved his hand. The opening of the gate of heaven was like opening the door to his own home, and he walked over just like that. Bang! The 9th gate of heaven appeared. When the azure-clothed youth walked to the front of the gate of heaven, he didn't even need to push the door, and the 9th gate of heaven opened by itself. Not only that, but thousands of auspicious clouds, thousands of auspicious chi, flowers fell from the sky, and golden springs surged from the ground. Endless strange phenomena appeared, as if the gate of heaven was welcoming the arrival of this youth. What is this situation? Qian Mingzi was already stunned, as if he was petrified, stunned. What happened to the incomparably difficult? What happened to the no one can pass through? When I tried to pass through the gate of heaven that year, my hands were already smashed, but I still couldn't open this door. Even my sword was smashed, but I still couldn't cut this door. Now, it actually opened by itself, even acting like a lackey, cheering and welcoming the arrival of the other party. It was as if they were afraid that the other party wouldn't enter. What was this situation? Ascending the stairway to heaven, passing through the gate of heaven, the path of heaven, just like that, passed through. The crowd of cultivators below, one by one, rubbed their eyes fiercely, feeling that their eyes were playing tricks on them. They couldn't believe everything in front of their eyes. Didn't they say that no one could pass through? Now, he walked through it so easily and casually. What was this? After passing through the 9th door, I will be in front of you. Liu stepped through the 9th door with a face full of smiles, then appeared on the cloud platform where Qian Mingzi was standing. Immortal Qian Mingzi, does this mean that I have passed? Lifting his eyes to look at Qian Mingzi, who was still in a daze, Liu waved his hand and greeted him. Passed? Yes, passed. Passed. Qian Mingzi came back to his senses and nodded repeatedly. Then, he looked at Liu with a face full of doubts. Can I ask, how did you pass the last 3 gates? The last 3 gates? Aren't the last 3 gates the easiest? I just walked around casually and passed. Liu answered with an honest face. Just walked around casually and passed. Qian Mingzi suddenly felt a pain in his heart. Why was the gap between people so big? Chapter 1341. Then can I enter the sect? After passing the Heaven Gate and Heaven Road, the entry task was completed. Liu planned to hand in the task and officially enter the sect. Passing the Heaven Gate is in accordance with the rules, so of course you can enter the sect. Although it was strange, but since this guy passed the Heaven Gate according to the rules, he must be admitted. Qian Mingzi nodded. You are now a disciple of Qianyuan Mountain. Wait. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the void. A rainbow light flew through the air and landed in front of Liu and Qian Mingzi. The cloud light changed, and an old man in a Taoist robe with a feathered crown and a starry robe appeared. A vast and majestic aura surged out. Greetings, senior brother Qianyuan. Seeing the old man with a feathered crown, Qian Mingzi quickly bowed. Qianyuan. Hearing Qian Mingzi's greeting, Liu knew that the old man with a feathered crown was the leader of Qianyuan Mountain, Immortal Qianyuan. Although Qianyuan Mountain was just an organization of 5 villages temple, it was the only sect under Xinyuanzi. Qianyuan, who was in charge of Qianyuan Mountain, must be deeply trusted by Xinyuanzi. But when I want to enter the sect, he shouted, "Wait, what does this mean?" Junior brother Qian Mingzi, this young man can't enter the sect carelessly. Immortal Qian Yuan nodded to Qian Mingzi and then turned to Li Yu. His face was stern, and a light flashed in his eyes. Where did you come from?" "Where did I come from?" Li Yu frowned. "My name is Li Yu, and I came from the Green Mountain sect of Yongzhou in the Nanjian section continent." "You're lying." Qian Yuanzi roared and pointed at Li Yu. "You just entered the immortal realm and came from an unknown small sect. It's impossible for you to pass the 9 heaven gates in half an hour. How dare you hide it?" "Huh, just because of this?" Li Yu was stunned for a moment, and the words, "damn it," came out in his mind. Was it also a problem to complete the entry task? Could it be that passing too quickly was also a disadvantage? "Yes, because of this." Qian Yuanzi snorted. "Passing through the 9 heavenly gates in an hour is definitely not something an immortal realm cultivator can do. You hid your origin and infiltrated my sect. What are you planning?" "Plotting." The corner of Li Yu's mouth twitched. "So I really do have a plan? However, I am plotting against Jin Yuanzi. You, the ghost of Qinyuan Mountain, are not qualified to be plotted against by me. Hurry up and confess. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Qian Yuanzi roared again, and an overwhelming pressure enveloped Li Yu's head. "I hate people with persecutory delusions the most." Li Yu shook his head helplessly. He looked up at Qian Yuanzi and said, "Someone told me that with this thing, I can come here to learn martial arts." As he spoke, Li Yu took out the token that Xinyuanzi gave him and threw it on the cloud platform at his feet. "Oomph, I didn't expect that guy to be a liar. How hateful." Li Yu threw the token that was made of the leaf of the ginseng fruit tree on the cloud platform. His face was full of anger, as if he had been greatly wronged. Buzz, as soon as the token fell, there was a sudden tremor. Green light soared into the sky, and the shadow of a ginseng fruit tree appeared in the green light. Seeing this scene, Qian Yuanzi and Qian Mingzi were stunned. "Master, what kind of trick are you playing? You have taken a disciple outside. Why did you ask him to break through the gate of heaven? Why didn't you bring him back directly? Is it fun to torture people like this?" "Ahem. I asked him to take out the token to enter the sect. Who knew that he didn't take it out? Instead, he wanted to break through the gate of heaven. This situation, Xinyuanzi, I am innocent." "Big Boss Li, you didn't make it clear. How would I know that he didn't need to break through the gate of heaven?" Qian Yuanzi, Qian Mingzi. There was a dead silence. It was very awkward. "Qian Yuanzi, bring him to see me." Xinyuanzi's voice transmission made Qian Yuanzi heave a sigh of relief. No wonder he was so freakish. No wonder he could break through the 9 gates of heaven so easily. With Master's token, he would have a smooth journey. However, he had just offended his future junior brother. He had to make up for it. "Junior brother, oh, young Master Li, Master asked me to bring you to meet him. Please come with me." Qian Yuanzi hurriedly released the cloud platform and led Li Yu into the sky on a cloud. He soared into the clouds and soared into the sky. After passing through many towering mountains, there were white clouds and waterfalls in front of them. A mountain that pierced through the clouds appeared in front of them. "Young Master Li, this is the Longevity Mountain." Qian Yuanzi pointed at the immortal mountain in front of them and introduced it to Li Yu with a smile. "Master's Tao is to respect heaven and earth. He wants to live forever and exist with the world. This 10,000 years mountain is named after the meaning of eternal life, as expected of the sacred land of immortals." Li Yu pretended to praise. He also knew that Qian Yuanzi was trying to ease the awkwardness just now. The cloud platform went around the mountain ridge and landed in front of a blue-tiled Taoist temple on the mountain peak. It was blue-tiled and white-tiled. It was neither luxurious nor majestic. It was only quiet and leisurely. This was the 5 Villages Temple. The atmosphere is deep and mysterious. It was not the first time Li Yu came to the 5 Villages Temple. However, he still had to pretend to be amazed. Master's cultivation is profound. His casual arrangement contains the Tao of heaven and earth. Qian Yuanzi smiled and nodded. He gestured with his hand. Young Master Li, Master is in the temple. You can go and meet him yourself. Thank you. Liu cupped his hands at Qian Yuanzi and stepped into the Five Villages temple. After entering, there was a hall. The furnishings in the hall were simple and elegant. There was no magnificent scene. There was only a faint, immortal cloud lingering in the hall. In the middle of the hall, a figure sat cross-legged on a futon amidst the immortal cloud. The aura was vast, as if it penetrated the universe and existed with heaven and earth. You're here? The dense cloud light slowly dissipated, revealing a man in a Taoist robe with a smile. This person was wearing a purple gold crown and a carefree crane cloak. His shoes were on his feet, and a ribbon was tied around his waist. His body was like a boy's, and his face was like a beauty's. His 3 whiskers fluttered under his chin, and crow feathers covered his temples. It was the ancestor of the Earth Immortals, Zhen Yuanzi. Looking at the teasing look in his eyes, he seemed to be saying, "Are you surprised? Are you shocked? You didn't expect it, right? I didn't expect that the poor cultivator you saved with a pill was actually the ancestor of the Earth Immortals, Zhen Yuanzi, right?" That pretentious look made Liu speechless. You want to show off? You want to show off in front of me? Hee. Where did your confidence come from? Why are you here? Liu looked at Zhen Yuanzi with a face full of shock, as if he could not believe the current scene. Hee. Zhen Yuanzi stroked his beard and smiled. He was secretly proud. Hee. I scared you quite a bit, didn't I? Oh, I understand now. As Liu pondered, he seemed to have suddenly realized the truth. Do you understand now? Zhen Yuanzi nodded with a smile. Yes, I understand. Liu nodded seriously. You should be the servant who does odd jobs in the 5th manor. Well, the floor is quite clean. You do things quite seriously. Puff. Zhen Yuanzi vomited blood. His hand trembled, and he almost tore off the beard on his chin. Servant. 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 Zhen Yuanzi's resentment lingered endlessly. Chapter 1342. The unpleasant reunion was over. Liu became the 49th successor disciple of Zhen Yuanzi, as he wished to become a disciple of Wu Zhuangguan. You've entered the immortal realm, and your foundation has been formed. But your cultivation method is too poor. What you need to do now is to cleanse your cultivation and rebuild your foundation. Zhen Yuanzi gave Liu the Longevity Sutra and sent away this disciple, who made him vomit blood. Although Zhen Yuanzi is a cross-dresser, his taste is not bad. Liu's disguise cultivated the Evergreen Sutra, which was a wood cultivation method. The Longevity Sutra, given by Zhen Yuanzi, was a great Tao true impartation created by Zhen Yuanzi with the ginseng fruit tree as the foundation. The ginseng fruit with the innate spiritual root was extraordinary in nature. This Longevity Sutra was indeed much more powerful than the Evergreen Sutra. They were not at the same level at all. For ordinary people, it's impossible to rebuild one's foundation without 8 to 10 years of hard work. For me, it's just a matter of a thought. But Liu did not rebuild his foundation immediately. One had to know that Liu did not come here to practice the 10,000 Longevity Sutra. He came to Zhen Yuanzi for the Hongmeng Immortal Vapor. Zhen Yuanzi knows Hongyun very well. He should have some clues about the Hongmeng Immortal Vapor. So, the best way is to ask Zhen Yuanzi to find the Hongmeng Immortal Vapor for me. Zhen Yuanzi already had a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. Liu added a blank system to it. However, in order to avoid alerting the enemy, Liu did not use the function of the blank system. Of course, the key trump card had to be used at the crucial moment to turn the tables. When we were at the 2 Realms Pass, Zhen Yuanzi cared so much about the descendant of Hongyun and the reincarnation of Hongyun. Could it be that, to find the Hongmeng Immortal Vapor, I have to use the descendant of Hongyun and the reincarnation of Hongyun? That was very likely. Liu pondered for a moment before an idea struck him. If that's the case, I'll send the descendant of Hongyun to you. With this thought, Liu turned his head and looked in the direction of the 2 Realms Pass with a smile on his face. Child Long, please fool Zhen Yuanzi for me. How could Li not tamper with the opportunity that he had given away? Hence, Li pointed out with his finger and started to cheat people again. Outside the 2 Realms Pass, proud and elated young Master Dragon, who had risen again, regained his status as the son of Providence. After ruthlessly dealing with those traitors, young Master Dragon, who was full of himself, felt that his future was bright. In 1 year, he could beat up a golden immortal, and in 3 years, he could trample a quasi-sage to death. Within 10 years, he could even look forward to becoming a sage. After all, this was Hong Yun's legacy. Ancestor Red Cloud was definitely qualified to become a sage. After receiving Ancestor Hong Yun's inheritance, Mr. Long was confident that he had inherited the right to become a martial sage. Suddenly, red clouds appeared in young Master Long's mind, and red clouds filled the sky. The words Fifth Manor of Longevity Mountain could be seen amidst this vast expanse of light. Seeing the words Longevity Mountain's Fifth Manor in his mind, young Master Dragon was shocked. Legend has it that Xinyuanzi and Ancestor Hong Yun were best friends. Some time ago, Xinyuanzi also came to the Two Realms Pass to look for the descendant of Hong Yun. Now, this strange phenomenon has appeared. What is the reason? As a time traveler, young Master Dragon naturally knew that Hong Yun had obtained the Hong Meng immortal vapor. Previously, when Xinyuanzi came to look for him, young Master Dragon recalled the plot of killing and robbing in novels. Out of caution, he did not show up. Now that such a scene appeared in his mind, it seemed that Hong Yun's legacy and the Fifth Manor had produced a resonance, as if something in the Fifth Manor was calling him. Could it be that the Fifth Manor has other treasures left behind by Ancestor Hong Yun? How can the sex treasures be left outside? I have to take them back. With the concealment of Ancestor Hong Yun's secret technique, he was not afraid that others would see through his true origin. Therefore, it was not a big problem to go to the Fifth Manor to check it out. Let's not expose my identity first. I'll go to the Fifth Manor to check it out as a rogue cultivator. It is said that this period of time is when the Qianyuan Mountain under the jurisdiction of the Fifth Manor is recruiting disciples. I can use this as an excuse to check out the situation. Young Master Dragon was still cautious and did not completely trust Ancestor Hong Yun's best friend. It was necessary to hide his identity and check it out. Therefore, young Master Dragon rode a white cloud and flew all the way to the Longevity Mountain. 10 days later, young Master Dragon had already arrived at the Qianyuan Mountain and arrived at the Qianyuan assembly that was being held. At this moment, thousands of cultivators were gathered at the foot of the Qianyuan Mountain. Some were here to participate in the assembly, and some were here to watch the fun. There were also many cultivators who were above the immortal realm. It was said that at the Qianyuan assembly a few days ago, there was an immortal realm cultivator who broke through the divine gate and became the disciple of the ancestor of earthly immortals, the great deity Xinyuan. Many itinerant immortals seemed to have seen hope and rushed over to participate in the Heavenly Gate Challenge trial. Therefore, young Master Dragon's arrival was not considered eye-catching. You think you're not eye-catching, but actually, you're very eye-catching. Liu flicked his finger and triggered the soul-dispersing gourd fragment in Zhen Yuanzi's sleeve. Suddenly, Zhen Yuanzi felt the soul-dispersing gourd fragment in his sleeve vibrate slightly, as if it was responding to something. He reached out and took out the soul-dispersing gourd fragment. Seeing the gourd fragment shining with red light, Zhen Yuanzi was shocked. The secret skill of Red Cloud that I used before was triggered. Could it be? He used his divine thought to explore the gourd fragment. Following the reaction, Zhen Yuanzi saw a young Master Dragon at the foot of the Qianyuan Mountain. This is clearly the aura of the true skill of Kanei Qi. What's going on? Could it be that this person is also the successor of Brother Hong Yun? Shocked, Zhen Yuanzi suddenly stood up and turned into a ray of green light that shot into the sky. He rushed out of the Fifth Manor and landed beside young Master Dragon. Suddenly, Mr. Dragon felt a figure appear beside him. He was shocked and turned his head quickly. He saw Xinyuanzi standing beside him and staring at him. Young Master Dragon broke out in a cold sweat and his face turned pale. Damn it, I'm so dead. Zhen Yuanzi caught me. Don't panic and don't say anything. There are too many people here. Martial nephew, let's talk somewhere else. How about that? Zhen Yuanzi looked at young Master Dragon with a warm and friendly smile. Okay. Zhen Yuanzi's cultivation was too strong. Young Master Dragon had no strength to resist and could only accept his fate. Okay, martial nephew, this way please. As he spoke, Zhen Yuanzi waved his hand. A ray of light flashed and swept young Master Dragon back to the fifth manor in an instant. Very good. Zhen Yuanzi and Long Outyin have met. Let's see if things are as I expected. Liu, the mastermind behind the scenes, had entered the state of watching the show. Chapter 1343. Am I Zhen Yuanzi? Do you know who I am? Zhen Yuanzi sat down in the Five Villages temple and looked at Mr. Long with a smile. Where did you come from? When did you get the inheritance of my brother Hongyan? Hearing Zhen Yuanzi's words and seeing that Zhen Yuanzi had confirmed his identity as Hongyun's descendant, Long Outyin was shocked again. His mind was in a mess, and he completely forgot the excuse that he had thought of earlier. Don't worry. In the Five Villages temple, even the sages can't hear our conversation. Don't worry. Zhen Yuanzi thought that Long Outyin was afraid of being exposed and did not dare to answer. He quickly explained. All right. Even the sages can't do anything. How can I, a Tai genuine immortal, escape from your evil clutches? Mr. Long sighed helplessly and could only tell the truth. My name is Long Ao. I'm from the Dragon Mountain Fort in Su Province, Nanjiang Continent, Central Region. I once bought a refined iron ore from a stall and accidentally found a fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd in the refined iron ore. A few days ago, I entered the Two Worlds Pass and was attacked. I took out the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd and defeated the enemy with the soul-dispersing divine power. However, I exposed the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd and was attacked by the Great Compassion Demon Monarch and the others who took it away. The fragment of the gourd was stolen, and my followers betrayed me. My cultivation was destroyed, and I was severely injured. I was stranded in a run-down temple in the Two Worlds Pass. At the moment of life and death, I got the inheritance of Master Hongyun from the broken statue in the temple. Young Master Dragon told Zhen Yuanzi the whole story. Got the fragment of the gourd from the Dragon Mountain Fort in Su Province. Got the inheritance of Brother Hongyun in the run-down temple in the Two Worlds Pass. Hearing Mr. Long's answer, Zhen Yuanzi frowned. Forget about the fragment of the gourd. But why did Brother Hongyun's inheritance appear in the Two Worlds Pass? Huh? Is there a problem? Mr. Long was confused. I really got the inheritance in the Two Worlds Pass. I got the true skill of Khanate Chi, the Khanate Chi Great Palm, the soul-dispersing divine power. As if he was worried that Zhen Yuanzi did not believe him, Mr. Long waved his hand and released a white cloud was a palm. Yes, it is the Khanate Chi Great Capture. It is indeed Brother Hongyun's inheritance. This is true. Zhen Yuanzi nodded and then shook his head again, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at the border of the two realms. Liu's eyes lit up when he heard this. He pricked up his ears and listened attentively. Since Zhen Yuanzi said, it shouldn't be at the border of the two realms, did he know where the inheritance of Hongyun should have appeared? Grand Immortal Zhen Yuan, what do you mean by that? Mr. Dragon was also confused by Zhen Yuanzi. I was worried about exposing my identity as the descendant of Hongyun. How come Zhen Yuanzi doesn't believe that I am the descendant of Hongyun? Just call me Martial Uncle. Zhen Yuanzi smiled at Long Outyin. Nothing much. It was just a little strange. You have to know, when Brother Hongyun fell, the Two-Realm Pass didn't even exist yet. It hadn't even been built yet. What the hell? I actually neglected this problem. Liu, who was watching the show, was stunned when he heard this. Did I expose myself? Martial Uncle, are you talking about this? Mr. Dragon smiled and shook his head. Martial Uncle, when I received Master's inheritance, I couldn't bear the humiliation and wanted to commit suicide. I placed my head on the stone platform below the statue. The reason for receiving the inheritance should be that stone. I see. Zhen Yuanzi nodded. That's right. So, The inheritance left by Brother Hong Yun was used as a stone to build the border of the two realms. You're really imaginative. My loophole was covered up by you guys just like that? Thank you so much. Liu heaved a sigh of relief and sighed in his heart. Indeed, the details determine success or failure. When cheating others, one must consider the details. What happened just now was almost exposed. Martial Uncle, the reason why I came to Five Villages Temple is because the inheritance in my mind actually resonated with something in Five Villages Temple. At this time, Mr. Dragon had already thrown caution to the wind. Since he had already confessed everything and claimed to be a relative, he couldn't possibly return empty-handed, right? He had to get some benefits, right? Resonated? Zenyuanzi glanced at Long Out Yin and smiled while stroking his beard. Indeed, I was a little doubtful about your identity as Hong Yun's descendant. Now that I've heard what you said, my doubts have been dispelled. You are indeed Brother Hong Yun's descendant. Brother Hong Yun did leave something with me. He waved his hand, and a ray of light suddenly shot out from under the ginseng fruit tree in the backyard of Five Villages Temple. An ancient jade box flew through the air and landed in Zenyuanzi's hands. Martial nephew, this is what Brother Hong Yun left behind. He reached out and opened the jade box. Red clouds filled the sky and illuminated the entire hall. As the red light shone, a red jade pendant was placed in the jade box. In the crystal-clear jade pendant, there seemed to be red clouds flowing, revealing a mysterious aura. Looking at the red jade pendant, Mr. Dragon's body shook, and he felt that the genuine chi in his body was boiling and was about to leave his body. Back then, Brother Hong Yun knew that he was in deep trouble and could not escape. So he left this jade pendant with me, saying that it contained a shocking secret. Zenyuanzi took out the jade pendant and handed it to Mr. Dragon. He sighed, and his eyes were filled with hatred. What catastrophe! What could not escape? Wasn't it the scheme of the sages? Everyone below the sages are ants. What is in it? Looking at the jade pendant in his hand and hearing the words shocking secret, Mr. Dragon thought of a possibility and suddenly trembled. Could it be? This is the Hong Meng immortal vapor? Zenyuanzi gave it to me, just like that. Could it be that he was so sentimental? Was he so loyal? Was he not greedy at all? I don't know what's in it. Zenyuanzi shook his head. After Brother Hong Yun died, I wanted to avenge him, so I took it out to have a look. However, I couldn't see it. This thing should only be seen by Hong Yun's descendant, right? Is that so? Mr. Dragon took a deep breath and raised the red jade pendant in his hand and slowly placed it between his eyebrows. Using the connate Chi True method, he triggered the red clouds flowing in the jade pendant. Boom! With a loud sound, the red clouds rolled and the red clouds rolled. The red clouds rushed up like dragons and rushed into Mr. Dragon's body, merging with the white cloud genuine chi that Mr. Dragon cultivated himself. My death is not in the Hong Meng immortal vapor. Because I saw the secrets of heaven and earth and saw the truth of the sages, I knew that I would die with no chance to escape. However, because I was unwilling to accept this, I left this message. If you want to uncover the secrets of heaven and earth, if you want to reverse the sky, you can follow my footsteps and find the truth. If you don't want to, you don't have to look into it. Remember, this is the secrets of heaven and earth. You will be punished by heaven if you touch it. If you don't want to die, don't look into it. Chapter 1344. Secret of Heaven and Earth. Mr. Dragon was stunned. What the hell was that? Martial nephew, what message did Brother Hong Yun leave? Seeing Mr. Dragon's confused face, Zenyuanzi quickly asked. Master left a message, saying his death was not because of the Hong Meng immortal vapor, but because he knew the secret of heaven and earth and the truth of the saint. That was why he died. Mr. Dragon looked at Zenyuanzi in panic, his whole body trembling. Secret of heaven and earth and the truth of the saint. This. Can I bear with my weak body? Is the saint someone I can afford to offend? Secret of heaven and earth? The truth of the saint? Zenyuanzi frowned. What the hell is that? Yuanzi had known Hong Yun for countless years, but he had never heard Hong Yun mention anything about it. Now, there was a secret of heaven and earth. That was too strange. Martial nephew, other than that, did Brother Hong Yun say anything else? Yuanzi looked up at Long Ao Yin and asked seriously. Master also said that this is the secret of heaven and earth, and those who touch it will be punished by the heavens. Only those who are willing to die can ask about it. If you want to find it, you can follow my footsteps and find the truth. Secret of heaven and earth. Those who touch it will be punished by the heavens. Brother Hong Yun, is that the reason for your death? No wonder you died so suddenly that even I couldn't save you. No wonder I couldn't see the message in the jade pendant. You were worried that I would die, so you didn't want me to see it? Yuanzi clenched his fists, his face ferocious. But I can't accept it. I can't accept it. Why should the saint rule the world, treat everyone like ants, and kill them? Are you willing to die? Ha ha. Brother Hong Yun, I've been struggling at death's door for so long. I've been a coward for so long. I've had enough. Why should I be afraid of death? Yuanzi took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were cold. So what if I go against the heavens? I, Yuanzi, have had enough of being manipulated by others. Since I've gone against the heavens, I have no regrets even if I die. The vast and mighty pressure covered the heavens and the earth. It was crazy, stubborn, violent, and terrifying. Martial uncle. Young Master Long was enveloped by this pressure and was pressed to the ground, almost unable to breathe. Oh, sorry. Not until then did Yuanzi realize that his venting of anger had pressed Mr. Dragon to the ground, and he could not stand it any longer. He hurriedly withdrew his chi and resumed his calm appearance of a Taoist master. Martial uncle Mr. Dragon looked at Yuanzi in shock. He did not know what was wrong with this cheap martial uncle of his. Oh, it's nothing. Yuanzi waved his hand with a smile and looked at Mr. Dragon seriously. You can't tell anyone about the information you just saw from the jade pendant. You can't even think about it. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. I can't even think about it. Young Master Long's face paled, and he gritted his teeth. I will sever this memory. What secrets of the world? It even involved the truth of the saints. How could this thing be provoked by young Master Long's small body? Using his finger like a sword, young Master Dragon fiercely pointed at his forehead. His mind was like a sword, cutting off all information about the jade pendant from his spirit. All right, Yuanzi nodded. You can cultivate here peacefully. There's a secluded pavilion in the fifth manor. I'll let Qing Feng and Mingwei take you there to settle down. With that, Yuanzi called Qing Feng and Mingwei over and asked them to take Long Ao Yin to rest. Brother Hong Yun, what do you know? Back in the hall, Yuanzi frowned and fell into deep thought. Hong Yun died not because of the Hong Meng immortal vapor, but because he saw the secrets of the world and knew the truth of the saints. What kind of secret is it? What kind of truth is it? And where is the Hong Meng immortal vapor? Yuanzi clenched his fists tightly, and his face was cold. Brother Hong Yun, I need the Hong Meng immortal vapor. I need to become a saint. Only when I become a saint can I avenge you. Only then can I have the power to fight against those saints. If you want to search, you can follow my footsteps and get the truth. Follow my footsteps and get the truth. Footsteps, Yuanzi suddenly stood up. Could it be there? Yes, Brother Hong Yun, the information you left in the jade pendant was not for your successor, but for me. Only I know where your footsteps are. You know, after you die, I can't help but avenge you. I'll definitely look for the Hong Meng immortal vapor and come to see this jade pendant. But it must be very dangerous. Even if I get the Hong Meng immortal vapor, I won't have the chance to become a saint. I'll only die. So you don't let me see it. After billions of years, when your successor is born, I can get this information through your successor. Then I can get the Hong Meng immortal vapor, become a saint safely, and avenge you. Brother Hong Yun, is this your plan? Yuanzi took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. There, the sun was setting and the sky was red. So, that's what happened. After watching the show, Liu also figured out the ins and outs. I'm afraid it's just as Yuanzi guessed. I'm afraid Han Yun just wants to leave the Hong Meng immortal vapor to Xinyuanzi safely and doesn't want Xinyuanzi to die. These two good friends were indeed full of love. They trusted each other with their lives. Since Xinyuanzi found Hong Yun's footsteps, he'll find the Hong Meng immortal vapor soon. Liu smiled. Xinyuanzi's body has merged with the blank system on the gourd fragment. He got the Hong Meng immortal vapor, just like I got the Hong Meng immortal vapor. Xinyuanzi needed the Hong Meng immortal vapor to become a saint, and so did Liu. However, Liu's method was different from Xinyuanzi's. Liu didn't need it, and he would never merge it with the Hong Meng immortal vapor. He only needed it for research and reference, and as an opportunity to break through the level. If the Hong Meng immortal vapor was really a kind of qi in the third step of chaos, then Liu could definitely find a way to turn himself into chaos by comprehending the Hong Meng immortal vapor. So, Xinyuanzi, I hope you can get the Hong Meng immortal vapor smoothly. Liu sighed and shook his head. Of course, he knew that Xinyuanzi couldn't get the Hong Meng immortal vapor so easily. Since it involved the secrets of heaven and earth and the truth of saints, Xinyuanzi, as a suspect, was definitely the key target of saints and sages to be. Xinyuanzi's every move must be watched all the time. Liu knew this, and so did Xinyuanzi. Therefore, to get the Hong Meng immortal vapor smoothly, they had to make a comprehensive plan. The apatheicized war has attracted the attention of saints. This is the best opportunity, and Xinyuanzi will definitely use it to get the Hong Meng immortal vapor back. Liu had buried a lot of chess pieces in the apatheicized war. Let's have a good time. It's just that, what exactly is the secrets of heaven and earth and the truth of the saints? Chapter 1345. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. In the past 10 years, Xinyuanzi stayed in Wuzhuang Taoist Temple. He didn't step out of the gate and didn't go out. It was as if nothing had happened. He didn't seem to care about the secret of heaven and earth, or Hong Meng immortal qi. It was as if there was no such thing at all. However, Liu knew that Xinyuanzi had been preparing for the past 10 years. He was like a crocodile lurking at the bottom of the water, waiting for the opportunity and waiting for the prey. Long Outyin, the successor of Red Cloud that Liu had created, had climbed up a big tree and was cultivating steadily in Wuzhuang Taoist Temple. As for Liu, in the past 10 years, in addition to rebuilding his foundation with the Longevity Sutra, he had also been waiting. The good show has finally begun. On this day, Liu clearly felt that there was an extremely furious aura above the sky, rushing from the direction of Empress Hua's palace. The Phoenix Lawn treasure tent was very beautiful, full of exquisite makeup. The melodies of the distant mountains were jade green, dancing gracefully, her sleeves reflecting her robes. The pear blossoms were beautiful in the rain, and the peonies were enchanting in the smoke. But the enchanting woman had to take action to retrieve the king of Chang'an. King Xian of the Shang dynasty was King Zhou. He wrote a poem in Yuhua's temple. From a literary point of view, this poem was quite well written, but flirting also depended on the target. You, a mortal emperor, were equivalent to the village chief of a small mountain village. With your status, you actually said to the empress, "Sister, do you want a date?" Illidan said, "You are courting death." So you, a country bumpkin village chief, actually dared to flirt with the empress? Once the empress was angry, you could forget about continuing to be the village chief. Someone else would be the village chief. So, the god investiture war is about to begin. Liu knew that at this time, Nuwa had already sent the vixen out. The vixen planned to transform into Su Daji and harm King Zhou. Su Daji and Shi Shi both did the same thing. They both used their beauty to confuse the king of a country and destroy the country. However, the treatment of the two was completely different. After Su Daji succeeded, she was killed. After Shi Shi succeeded, she became a hero and even found her ideal husband. Therefore, vixens had no human rights. At this time, Su Daji started to enter Chaoga. Liu had already done something and was very clear about Su Daji's whereabouts. Wing Prefecture. A group of knights in bright armor, armed with spears and swords, escorted a dazzling chariot. They raised their flags high and slowly walked out of Wing Prefecture City. Inside this luxurious carriage sat a woman of unparalleled beauty. This was Su Daji. The chariot rolled forward and drove out of Wing State City. It followed the wide road to Chaoga. Phew! Suddenly, a gust of wind howled. The sky was dark, and sand and pebbles were flying everywhere. Be careful. Protect Miss. The group of knights quickly got into formation, firmly protecting the chariot within the formation. However, how could these mortal soldiers stop the demons? Amidst the howling wind, a wisp of demonic wind swept past and instantly rushed into the carriage. What a good skin. It's you. Under Su Daji's shocked gaze, a beam of light flashed and rushed into her glabella. How could a mortal's soul block a demon? After swallowing Su Daji's soul in one gulp, the vixen officially occupied Su Daji's body. Ice skin and jade bones, a natural beauty. Not bad, not bad. You're even more beautiful than my human form. From now on, I'll use this appearance. Su Daji reached out and picked up the bronze mirror in the chariot. Seeing the appearance in the mirror, she was extremely charming and beautiful. She was very satisfied. Goddess Nuwa ordered me to confuse DXIN and cause chaos. This Su Daji, who is about to be sent to Chaoga as a concubine, is just right for me. If she wanted to successfully enter Chaoga's harem, she could only wear this skin and could not use demonic arts to transform into her true body. After all, when entering the palace, she had to be tested. In this primordial world where demons and ghosts were endless, if the Shang dynasty's palace did not have a way to distinguish between demons and ghosts, countless demons and ghosts would have hidden in the palace long ago. After I successfully enter the palace, I can change back to my true body. Su Daji smiled sweetly and seductively. She was full of confidence in her future career as a princess consort. Buzz! Suddenly, a pearl hairpin on Su Daji's hair flashed with a ray of light. An invisible force enveloped Su Daji's heart. The power of the Great Void illusion realm pulled Su Daji into an illusion. Then, Su Daji experienced her life. She entered Chaoga, bewitched the king, framed the queen, and framed the loyal. The extravagance of wine and meat, the ferocity of the heart-gouging cannon, the luxury of the deer terrace pavilion. The king was drunk, and the country was in turmoil. Su Daji's mission was completed very smoothly and perfectly. However, as a spy, she did not receive the respect she deserved, nor did she receive the treatment she deserved. What awaited her was only a knife to the head. Ah! Su Daji exclaimed and suddenly woke up. Cold sweat broke out all over her body. What happened just now? I saw the future. I saw fate. This is my fate. This is my future. Nuwa, you lied to me. You lied to me. What happened to the fruit of cultivation? What happened to the position of the female immortal of Qingqiu? So everything was fake. Everything was a scam. Su Daji gritted her teeth in anger. However, Nuwa was a saint. She was just a fox demon. She could not resist the orders of a saint. She could not resist this destiny. What should I do? Become Nuwa's pawn and be abandoned by Nuwa in the end? Or resist now and be killed by Nuwa's heavenly lightning? Su Daji knew that even if she resisted now, it would be meaningless to Nuwa. If one vixen died, he could just replace her with another. Just now, I saw fate and the future because of this pearl hairpin. Su Daji suddenly remembered that when she saw the future, the pearl hairpin seemed to have flashed with light. What is this? Su Daji reached out and took off the pearl hairpin on her hairbun. She held it in her hand and looked at it carefully. It was an extremely exquisite pearl hairpin. However, Su Daji could not feel anything strange about the pearl hairpin. Do you want to understand the meaning of life? Do you want to truly live? Do you want to control your own fate? Do you want to break away from the control of others and live freely? Suddenly, a voice sounded in Su Daji's mind. A strange light screen appeared in Sudaji's mind. It was a square screen with a black border. In the middle was a sky blue screen. A dialog box popped up on it. A sentence appeared in the dialog box. Do you want to understand the meaning of life? Below this sentence, there are two things that seem to be buttons. On the two buttons, there were a few crooked and curved characters. Yes. No. Sudaji thought, what kind of words are these? I can't understand. I'm a demon. I can't read. Chapter 1346. You don't know how to read. Big Boss Lee's face was full of depression, and he blurted out, "Wheat bastard. Uncultured, how scary." However, it would be strange if a fox spirit from the primeval world like you could recognize the barbarian language of the future, right? Big Boss Lee muttered a few words in his heart. The details determine success or failure. Then, he immediately provided the online translation function. Yes. No. Sudaji saw the two strange characters suddenly twist and turn to the words yes and no. Only then did she understand. It's clearly yes and no. Why did it turn into those strange words? I was so scared that I broke out in a cold sweat. I thought that the words in the current human world had changed again. After letting out a long breath, Sudaji threw away the problem of the words and focused on the thing itself. What exactly is this thing? Do you want to understand the meaning of life? Do you want to truly live? I'm a little monster who is controlled by others and can't even control my own life and death. Do I really have a chance to live? Control my own fate? Break away from the control of others? Can I do it? Sudaji frowned and thought to herself. Everything is possible. Another voice sounded in her mind. Everything is possible? Yes, everything is possible. Fate is so cruel. If I don't fight for it and resist it, how can I be willing to accept my fate? Taking a deep breath, Sudaji's face was no longer beautiful, and her eyes were no longer seductive. There was only coldness and determination. No matter who you are, no matter what you want to do, I've agreed. I want to live. Even if I'm lowly, I want to live proudly. Sudaji clenched her fists tightly. As you wish. Her mind shook violently, and the sky was filled with light. In Sudaji's mind, a shop suddenly appeared. Hello, sir. Welcome to the Myriad Whirl Mall. A shadow appeared at the entrance of a shop. It was a young man with short hair wearing a short-sleeved shirt. I'm the strongest shop owner in history. The young man opened his arms, and his body was shining with a holy light. Our shop has everything you need. There's nothing you can't buy, only things you can't imagine. Sir, what would you like to order? Sudaji suddenly had the urge to cover her face and escape. She turned around and left. Everything that one could wish for? There's nothing that can't be bought? Wasn't this too ridiculous? What's more, this strongest shopkeeper doesn't seem reliable at all. Everything? If I want to become a saint, can you buy a saint birth year? Sudaji pursed her lips and retorted at the strongest shop owner. Become a saint? Of course. The strongest shopkeeper waved his hand, and a screen appeared in front of Sudaji. Look, there were all kinds of saint ascension packages here. One click to install, a fool to operate. With just a light tap, the holy birth would be in his hands. You deserve it. Little White's big gift pack. How does saint become one? The guidance of a famous teacher and the teaching materials for becoming a saint. What the hell was this? Sudaji was dumbfounded. After searching through the light screen for a while, Sudaji found a seemingly reliable Saint's Great Tao Express. Professional teaching materials, a necessity for becoming a saint. You need a set of primordial violet vapor to buy them, or 10 billion exchange points. Sudaji almost cursed. If I had primordial violet vapor, why would I come here to buy teaching materials? And what the hell was exchange points? Dear customer, you don't have money. Oh, you don't have any exchange points, right? The strongest shopkeeper chuckled. All right, this is my first time doing business in this primeval world of yours. You're also the only person in this world who can contact me. Then, I'll give you a gift. The strongest shopkeeper waved his hand, and a bit of light flew out of his hand and entered between Sudaji's eyebrows. Dear customer, our shop collects all kinds of materials. You can buy anything and sell anything. Please come again. With a flash of light, Su Daji instantly left this inexplicable myriad world mall. What the hell is this? Su Daji rubbed between her eyebrows and only felt a headache. Boom! Suddenly, there was another boom in Su Daji's mind. The violent shock almost made Su Daji's soul leave her body. What's going on? Demonic sky-devouring technique? A mysterious and unfathomable secret technique suddenly appeared in Su Daji's mind. A little fox? She actually obtained my inheritance? Could it be the work of a celestial venerable? Fine. Since you have such an opportunity, I'll let you learn this technique of mine. The figure of a woman in white suddenly appeared in Su Daji's mind. It was a woman who was aloof and peerless. Just a phantom image seemed to have crushed the eternal space and time, as if it had shattered the heavens and earth. She was the only one in the world. One Tao suppressed all Taos. All things in the world, all living beings in the world, it was as if everything had to bow down and submit to this woman in white. Who is this expert? Seeing this woman in white, Su Daji suddenly trembled from her soul. The demonic sky-devouring technique is the first emperor scripture that I created. Watch carefully. The woman in white put her hands together, and 365 stars appeared all over her body. They were bright and holy. However, within the dazzling radiance of these 365 stars, there was actually a boundless black vortex, devouring the world, devouring everything, devouring everything. Under the devouring of the 365 light spots around her, spiritual energy, vitality, artifacts, and even the wind, clouds, thunder, and lightning were all swept away. The demonic sky-devouring technique. As expected of the demonic sky-devouring technique. Seeing this scene, Su Daji was so excited that her whole body trembled. So, that myriad world mall was actually so powerful. The gift that was casually given out was actually such a heaven-defying and invincible secret technique. That's great. That's great. This is my lucky chance. This is my opportunity to reverse fate. Su Daji clenched her fists tightly, and her heart was burning. With this myriad world mall in hand, so what if it was Niwa? As long as she had enough redemption points, there were many sanctification set meals in the mall. At this moment, Su Daji suddenly felt that her fate was already in her hands. I won't be manipulated by you. I won't give in. I want to live. I want to live freely. Is this the meaning of life? Is this the true meaning of living? As expected, I already understand the meaning of life. I already know how to truly live. Niwa, didn't you want me to bring chaos to the world? I will definitely help you bring chaos to the world. I will definitely help you bring disaster to the world. Su Daji is already a modified version of the Dark Demon. There will be a good show to watch in this investiture of the Gods' War. Liu picked up the wine bottle and drank it in one gulp. His face was full of smiles. Chapter 1347. Su Daji has already changed it. The effect is not bad. Liu looked up in the direction of Zhaoga and King Zhou, who wanted to make an appointment with Niwa. With Su Daji's Myriad World Mall, it's not a problem to buy King Zhou an innate hegemonic body. But that's not enough. Yes, it was not enough. Liu didn't go through so much trouble for fun. The Battle of the Gods was to attract the energy and attention of the saints, so that Zenyuanzi could find a loophole and find the primordial violet qi and secrets of heaven and earth of Hongyan. Therefore, the Battle of the Gods could not only be fought by Western Zhou and Shangzhou. The fundamental goal was to involve the saints and mighty figures of the primordial world. Shen Gongbao will complete his mission and drag all the immortals and gods into this vortex. This is the wish of the primordial beginning and the result of the game between the saints. Tong Tian was a straightforward person, but he did not expect that he would be betrayed by his brother from the beginning. The Battle of the Gods was the primordial beginning, contacting the other saints to scheme against Tong Tian. In the current situation, the three pure ones and Niwa will definitely be involved in the Battle of the Gods. Because of the Ling Zhuzi incident, Hao Hian will definitely be involved. But The Buddhist sect is still watching the show. In the original Battle of the Gods, the three pure ones were fighting among themselves, and the Western sect was watching the fire for the other side and reaping the benefits. However, this obviously did not meet Li Yu's requirements. Now, it won't be so easy for you bald thieves to continue watching the show. Li Yu looked up at the Dongshan Divine Continent and saw the stone on Huagu Mountain. I also left a backup plan for Monkey. At the critical moment, the fierce, violent, and unruly monkey will teach them a lesson. Of course, this was only a move. Li Yu had already made arrangements for other contingencies. When these bald thieves were chopped until their heads were bleeding, it would definitely be a fire in Buddha. They would enter the world to subdue demons and eliminate demons, and save all living beings. At this moment, Jiang Zia and Shan Gongbao have already left the mountain. It's time for Li Yu, the sword immortal of Green Mountain, to travel the world. Shan Gongbao's monster-luring skill must be strengthened. Li Yu needed to give this former martial uncle a good push. You want to travel down the mountain? Hearing that Li Yu planned to travel down the mountain, Zhen Yuanzi frowned slightly. After 10 years of cultivation, you have rebuilt your foundation and reached the realm of Tai. Why don't you wait until you become a golden immortal before going down the mountain? Zhen Yuanzi had high hopes for Li Yu. 10 years after entering the sect, this simple and kind young man did not disappoint Zhen Yuanzi. After rebuilding his foundation, he broke through several realms within 10 years and became a grand unity, true immortal. Such talent would be considered top-notch even among the disciples of the saints. If Zhen Yuanzi wanted to obtain the primordial violet qi, he would definitely face a bloody battle. Zhen Yuanzi had quite a number of disciples under him, and many of them were at the primordial realm. There were even a few golden immortals. However, to this day, no one had been able to break through and become a quasi-saint. In Zhen Yuanzi's view, Li Yu should be the one most likely to become a quasi-saint among his disciples. One more quasi-saint would be a great help in the coming war. With such a powerful assistant, why not seize the time to cultivate seriously and break through as soon as possible, and travel instead? I don't want to either. Li Yu naturally knew what Zhen Yuanzi was thinking, and shook his head helplessly. 10 years to become a grand unity true immortal is too fast, and my foundation is unstable. I need to settle down and comprehend more. Otherwise, I won't be able to break through in a short time. Is that so? Zhen Yuanzi nodded. Breaking through too fast could lead to an unstable foundation. That was quite possible. A grand unity true immortal to become a golden immortal, or a golden immortal to become a quasi-saint, was not something that could be done overnight. It required opportunity and comprehension. Building a cart behind closed doors was definitely not going to work. He really needed to be let down the mountain, travel the world, and comprehend the principles of heaven and earth. Only then could he have the opportunity to break through. That's fine too. Zhen Yuanzi nodded in agreement, and then took out a jade slip, entered a message, and handed it to Li Yu. Since you're going to travel the mountain, send me a letter on the way. Send a letter? Li Yu reached out to take the jade slip, somewhat confused. Didn't cultivators usually use a talisman to send messages? Was there such a thing as sending a letter? This is a serious matter. The message may be leaked through the talisman, so you have to go in person. Zhen Yuanzi's face was solemn. Send this letter to Kong Xian, the general of the 3 mountains pass of the Central Plains. Remember, this letter cannot be taken out halfway and cannot be given to anyone else. Only you can hand it to Kong Xian personally. Yes. Li Yu nodded in agreement and put the jade slip into his sleeve. Naturally, Li Yu would not let go of Zhen Yuanzi's world in the sleeve. These few years, Li Yu's universe in the sleeve technique had long been trained to the point of perfection. Go! Zhen Yuanzi waved his hand and sent Li Yu away. Li Yu cupped his hands and took his leave. Riding on the auspicious cloud, he rose up and flew towards the direction of the southern viewing department state. Zhen Yuanzi found Kong Xian. Looking at the jade slip in his sleeve, Li Yu chuckled. Kong Xian fell into Ai's hands long ago and became Ai's pawn. Is Zhen Yuanzi also trying to win Kong Xian over? Xinyuanzi needed help. Even if the 8 saints were busy fighting in the God-sealing formation and could not get out. However, Mingyi, Kunpeng, Haoyan, and even Daipamkara and the Holy Emperor of the human race might help. Although the Holy Emperor of the human race was one level weaker, the human sacred weapon carried the power of fate of the human race, and its power was no less than that of a sage-to-be. Under such circumstances, it was normal for Xinyuanzi to ask for help. I wonder if Xinyuanzi knows that Kong Xian has become a sage-to-be thanks to my opportunity. Of course, that was not important. The alliance of Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian was also in Liyu's interest, and Liyu had even wanted to facilitate this. Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian must also be thinking about the God-sealing war. They want to burn the fire of the God-sealing war even more. Liyu suddenly wanted to laugh. The saints were promoting the God-sealing war. Xinyuanzi and even other sages-to-be were also promoting the God-sealing war. And Liyu was also promoting the God-sealing war. It seemed that this war was in everyone's interest. In terms of the general trend, Yuan Shi, Niuhua, and even Taishang can be considered on one side. On the other hand, Skirich's forces were weak. Haoyan is very dissatisfied with Niuhua and Yuan Shi because of the Ling Zhuzi incident and may join Tongtian's lineup. However, Haoyan's subordinates were only some old subordinates of the Jade Pool of West Kunlun, and there are not many powerful figures. Unless Haoyan and Jade Pool personally participated, it would not be of much help to Tongtian. Yuan Shi's lineup is too strong. I have to strengthen Tongtian's side. Liyu looked up at the North Sea. Demon Master Kunpeng, this is a good target. The ancient demon heavenly court was destroyed, and there are still some demon saints scattered everywhere. Kunpeng is a good force to rope in these demon saints. Therefore, Liyu planned to trick Kunpeng again. Chapter 1348. I'm Liyu. Please meet perfected Kong Xian. Not long after, Liyu arrived at the Three Mountain Pass. He stepped on the cloud platform and arrived outside the Three Mountain Pass military headquarters. He sent a voice transmission to the headquarters. Liyu, who's your master? Kong Xian was already a sage-to-be. Naturally, he could sense the arrival of a cultivator outside the residence. Liyu was an unfamiliar name. However, a Grand Unity, true immortal cultivator was considered an expert. The door opened, and Kong Xian's voice sounded. Come in. Thank you, perfected one. Liyu stepped into the mansion, walked into the main hall, and came before Kong Xian. Greetings, perfected Kong Xian. My master has a letter. Please take a look at it, Reverend Kong Xian. Liyu took out the jade slip that Xinyuanzi had given him and handed it to Kong Xian. Letter? Kong Xian frowned. He reached out and grabbed the jade slip. He scanned it with his divine will and saw the message on it. Hongyun's relic? Primordial violet vapor? Xinyuanzi wants to work with me? Seeing the information in the jade slip, Kong Xian's entire body trembled, and his heart was filled with horror. Xinyuanzi actually mentioned something like the primordial violet vapor, so openly? Yes, there were too many people who wanted the primordial violet vapor. Xinyuanzi was alone and had no helpers. There was no way he could get Hongyun's relic. After getting the primordial violet vapor, the two of them would compete to determine who would get it. Haha, very good. My 5 elements Great Tao has reached phenomenal success. I'm quite confident in getting the primordial violet vapor. Thinking of this, Kong Xian nodded. I received the letter. Tell your master that I'm willing to work with him. Thank you, perfected one. I'll take my leave now. Liyu cupped his hands in salute, turned around, and left the military headquarters. Then, Kong Xian, it's time for you to awaken. After leaving the military headquarters, Liyu stepped on a cloud and rushed to Chaoga, while giving Kong Xian a chance to comprehend fate. The military headquarters of the Three Mountain Pass. Kong Xian received Xinyuanzi's letter and felt a sense of urgency about the future. In order to successfully obtain the primordial violet qi, he still needed to continue increasing his strength. Taking out the 5 elements divine stone he had obtained from the whetstone, Kong Xian continued to comprehend the great Tao of the 5 elements and the principles behind the creation and destruction of matter. Buzz, the 5 elements divine stone in his hand, suddenly trembled, and a 5-colored light shone. Then, Kong Xian saw the future. Mahamayuri? 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 In the future, Kong Xian was involved in the Great God-Conferment War and defeated the heroes. In the end, he was suppressed by Zhuan Ti and became the guardian wisdom king of the Western sect. This made the anger in Kong Xian's heart rise higher and higher. I am the son of the phoenix, the first peacock between heaven and earth, free and unfettered under the heavens. But in the end, he was schemed against and fell into the hands of those bandits, becoming their hired thug. How preposterous! Seeing the future wasn't a strange thing. Kong Xian, who was in the realm of sage-to-be, had also seen some fragments of the future on a whim. However, he had never seen the future so clearly and thoroughly like this. The 5 Elements Divine Stone is indeed my opportunity. Not only did it allow me to become a sage-to-be, but it also allowed me to see the future so clearly. Kong Xian's face was cold, and his eyes were cold. Since I have seen the future, how can my future be enslaved by others? The Great God-Conferment War? Mahamayuri? Hee. Let's see who's more ruthless. Thus, the hired thug Li Yu had already awakened. It's still easier to fool this kind of itinerant cultivator. If it's a disciple of a sage, it won't be easy to manipulate. In fact, what Li Yu wanted to do most was to let the dead disciples of the GS sect see their future and let them awaken so that they could defy the heavens and change their fate. Unfortunately, it's not easy to manipulate a disciple of a sage, even if I let them see the future. As a sage, even I can't see the future and see through fate in this chaotic time. How did you see it? If you can see it, then it must be done by someone else. In this way, even Li Yu's own existence might be exposed. So, if I want to muddy the waters and make the Apotheosis War fiercer and more tragic, I have to think about itinerant cultivators. Nether River Patriarch, Demon Master Kuanpeng. These people were the best chess pieces. At this time, Shun Gongbao should also go down the mountain, right? If I want to trick Kuanpeng, I can't do without Shun Gongbao, who has a lot of friends. Riding a cloud, Li Yu rushed toward the direction of Chaoga, the capital of the Shang dynasty. At this time, Jiang Zia went down the mountain. Shun Gongbao was deeply shocked and followed all the way down the mountain. Li Yu had been with Shin Gongbao for a while, so how could he not do something? A system positioning mark made Shun Gongbao unable to hide. After flying for a few days, Li Yu saw a figure flying on the cloud in front of him. It was Shun Gongbao. Why? Jiang Zia's talent is extremely poor. He can't enter the immortal realm after cultivating for dozens of years. And I am already a Tai genuine immortal. Why did Master give him the list of deification, the holy whip, and the central Wutu apricot yellow flag? Why him? Why not me? Shin Gongbao was angry and depressed. He only felt that he was full of bitterness and had no one to complain to. Fellow cultivator, wait. While flying, Shun Gongbao suddenly heard a call behind him. Hearing this very familiar sentence, Shun Gongbao was stunned. This sentence seems to be wrong. Isn't this my catchphrase? Stopping the flying light, Shin Gongbao looked back and saw a cultivator flying toward him on a cloud, surrounded by green gas. Fellow cultivator. It's you? Li Yu? Martial nephew Li Yu? Shin Gongbao saw the cultivator flying toward him on the cloud. It turned out to be Li Yu from the Green Mountain sect, the descendant of Chang Qingzi. This shocked Shin Gongbao. How many years has it been? He is already a Tai genuine immortal? Feeling the green light around Li Yu and the otherworldly Tai genuine immortal chi, Shun Gongbao opened his mouth wide and could not close it for a long time. It really is martial Uncle Shun. Li Yu caught up with him with a smile on his face. I looked at you from afar and thought you looked like martial Uncle Shun, so I called you. I didn't expect martial Uncle Shun to come. You kid, you have reached the Tai realm. The shock in Shun Gongbao's heart did not diminish at all. With this kind of aptitude, even the disciples of the sages with extraordinary backgrounds could only reach this level. right? Even in the Chan sect, only Yang Jian of the younger generation could compare with this guy. During my travels, I obtained an opportunity and was accepted by the ancestor of the Earth Immortals, Immortal Zhen Yuan. That's how I reached the Tai realm. Liu explained with a smile. Then, he deliberately mentioned Shun Gongbao's sad story. Martial uncle, I saw that you seem to be in a bad mood. I wonder if I can share your worries. Sigh. Shin Gongbao heaved a long sigh, and his face was gloomy. It's okay, it's okay. He was not valued by the heavenly lord of primordial beginning. Who could share his worries? Martial uncle, why don't we call some friends to drink together and relieve your depression? This place is not far from Yongzhou. Let's go find the Golden Flood Dragon King for a drink. What do you think? This was Li Yu's motive. The Golden Flood Dragon King was the son of the great sage of the ocean cover. Li Yu wanted to trick the Kuanpeng. The great sage of the ocean cover of the ancient demon heavenly court was the best bait. Chapter 1349. Golden Flood Dragon King? Drink? Sure. Shun Gongbao had a belly full of bitterness and needed to drink to relieve his boredom. He was very interested in Li Yu's suggestion. Let's go find the Golden Flood Dragon King for a drink. Shun Gongbao and Li Yu turned and rushed to Yongzhou's Jade Spring Lake. Not long after, the two arrived at the vast Jade Spring Lake. Ever since he found the soul-dispersing gourd fragment at the Jade Spring Lake, Li Yu had used this fragment to scam the world. Therefore, I am still very grateful for the Golden Flood Dragon King's outstanding contribution. This time, I will let you make an even greater contribution. Li Yu looked at the island in the middle of the lake with a smile on his face. Brother Golden Flood Dragon, Shun Gongbao, is here to visit. Standing by the lake, Shun Gongbao yelled at the top of his lungs in the direction of the island in the middle of the lake. Brother Leopard is here? Quickly invite him in. A hearty laugh came from the island. The Golden Flood Dragon King rose on a cloud and welcomed him with a hearty laugh. Brother Leopard, come, come, come. I happen to have a few jars of good wine. Let's not leave until we are drunk today. Ha! I was just about to find you for a drink. Shun Gongbao's sullenness seemed to have dissipated. He laughed loudly and followed the Golden Flood Dragon King to the island. After Li Yu paid his respects, he followed suit. A moment later, the three of them arrived at the island in the middle of the lake where the Treasure Appreciation Conference had once been. The main hall was empty. It seemed like the Golden Flood Dragon King had no guests. There were only 2 snake demon guards at the entrance of the main hall. These 2 guards are just nice to use. When they walked through the door, Li Yu flicked his fingers slightly. 2 imperceptible light spots silently entered the bodies of the 2 snake demon guards. Come, sir, the wine. The Golden Flood Dragon King was very hospitable. After sitting down in the main hall, he quickly ordered the maids to serve the wine and dishes. Today, Brother Leopard and Li have arrived. This king is overjoyed. Drink to your heart's content. Drink to your heart's content. The Golden Flood Dragon King raised his wine cup and drank it in one gulp. Unfortunately, I am not here to drink with you. Li Yu picked up the cup and pretended to drink it in one gulp. Just as he was about to finish the cup, Li Yu seemed to have noticed something. He turned his head abruptly to look at the entrance of the hall. Martial nephew, what's wrong? Seeing Li Yu's action, Shin Gongbao was also shocked and hurriedly asked, Mr. Li, is there a problem? The Golden WYRM King was also confused. He didn't know what was going on with Li Yu. Strange. Li Yu frowned as he looked at the entrance of the Grand Hall. Then, he turned to look at the Golden WYRM King. Just now, I seem to have sensed an extremely powerful aura. It seems to be a Golden Immortal. Golden WYRM King. Is there a Golden Immortal in your Jade Spring Lake? How is that possible? My father is only a Golden Immortal. How can my tiny Jade Spring Lake have? Before the Golden WYRM King could finish speaking, a sudden change occurred. Damn it, this brat actually foiled our great plan. So what if they found out? With their strength, do you think they can stop us? Let's just kill them. 2 monstrous, murderous auras suddenly exploded at the entrance of the Grand Hall. The 2 snake demons guarding the entrance suddenly exploded with boundless divine might. Their mighty auras soared into the sky and shook the clouds. Boom! The two snake demons roared and charged, their boundless power directly shattering the golden WYRM King's Grand Hall. What's going on? The golden WYRM King was completely dumbfounded. What's going on? My two guards, when did they become so terrifying? Run. When the two monstrous auras soared into the sky, Shun Gongbao was very quick-witted. He quickly rushed out, grabbed the golden WYRM King, and turned to run. Martial Uncle, run. Your disciple will risk his life to block them. Li let out a wild roar. Disregarding his own life, he resolutely swung his sword without hesitation. A tall and straight pine tree rose from the ground, towering majestically. The sky was filled with sparkling, clear splendor. The pine needles were like rain, densely packed together as they swept towards the two snake demons that had charged into the main hall. Martial nephew, run. Run. Don't throw your life away. Shen Gongbao was moved to tears when he saw Liu risking his life to block the enemy. Brother Shun, run. We can't let Li's sacrifice be in vain. The golden WYRM King roared, grabbed Shen Gongbao, and turned to run. What the hell is going on, golden WYRM King? You bastard! Who the hell did you offend? Shen Gongbao's eyes were bloodshot as he roared at the golden WYRM King as he ran. An ambush by two golden immortals was not something an ordinary faction could afford. Apart from the disciples of the saints, only a few demi-saints could send out golden immortals. It was obvious that the golden WYRM King had offended a demi-saint. As for the saints, even if the golden WYRM King wanted to, he didn't have the right to do so. I don't know what's going on either. The golden WYRM King wanted to cry. Damn it. They've caught up. My martial nephew, a grand immortal, only managed to block them for a moment? Where did these two golden immortals come from? Shen Gongbao was shocked to see that the two snake demons had caught up to them again after only a moment's delay. This made Shen Gongbao believe that the golden WYRM King was the culprit. Shen Gongbao had never offended someone like that, and Liu was even less likely. Moreover, the two golden immortal snake demons were chasing after them. If it wasn't Shen Gongbao himself, then it could only be the golden WYRM King. Damn it, what the hell is going on? The golden WYRM King wanted to cry. From the looks of it, the two golden immortals were coming for him. This made him even more confused. Stop dilly-dallying. If we don't think of a way to escape, only death awaits us. Although Shen Gongbao was a disciple of the sage, it would be meaningless even if he died and his sect avenged him after being involved in such a disaster. To my father's place. The abode of my father, the great sage of the ocean cover, is in the outer seas of Yongzhou. The golden WYRM King immediately thought of a place to escape. He hurriedly gathered all his spiritual energy and brought Shen Gongbao to the abode of the great sage of the ocean cover. Because you had held them back for a while, they were able to escape for some distance. The two fled pathetically, and just as the snake demons were about to catch up, they rushed to the outer seas of Yongzhou. Father, save me! The golden WYRM King screamed for help at the top of his lungs. Who dares hurt my child? Huge waves surged into the sky as a dignified figure wearing a flat crown and emperor robes broke through the waves and soared into the sky. Two golden immortals? No, not golden immortals, but a golden immortal's incarnation? Which fellow Taoist is joking with me? The great sage of the ocean cover frowned as he looked at the two snake demons who were chasing after them. Golden immortals were already peak existences in the primeval world. As the great sage of the ocean cover, there was no golden immortal in the primeval world who didn't recognize him. However, he didn't sense any familiar aura from the two snake demons. Rumble. The two snake demons didn't answer. Instead, they unleashed a torrential aura and charged at the great sage of the ocean cover. Since you want to fight, don't blame me for not holding back. The great sage of the ocean cover was a veteran golden immortal. If two golden immortals attacked him in their true forms, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. However, having two avatars was not a big deal. Even so, when the great sage of the ocean cover took action to meet the enemy, he he found that one of the snake demons was entangling him, while the other snake demon dived into the sea and rushed toward his underwater cave residence. Damn it, are they after that thing? The great sage of the ocean cover's expression changed drastically. Chapter 1350. Bastard. How did that thing get exposed? The great sage of the ocean cover was both shocked and anxious. He left the golden Jiao King and Shun Gongbao behind, not even in the mood to deal with the snake demon that was charging at him. He turned and dove into the water, chasing after the other snake demon. You want to go back? You're not going anywhere. The snake demon that was charging at the great sage of the ocean cover sneered, releasing an extremely cold aura. Boom! The snake demon suddenly exploded, burning its entire body and all of its power, releasing a cold aura that seemed to freeze the world. Crack, crack! Cold light burst out, sweeping across the sea. In the blink of an eye, the sea within a radius of 1,000 miles was frozen solid. The great sage of the ocean cover, who was charging at the bottom of the water, was suddenly frozen in solid ice. Northern underworld frost chi. After being frozen by this cold chi, the great sage of the ocean cover immediately identified the origin of this cold chi. Who was the best at frost arts in the Eldritch world? Only the demon master Kuanpeng, who occupied the northern underworld ocean. Could these two golden immortals be disciples of the demon master palace of the northern underworld? Frost Toad or Frost Toad? Yes, the demon master Kuanpeng was also a member of the ancient celestial court. Even Emperor Jun's inscription of the Luo fell into his hands. It was not impossible that he knew the whereabouts of that thing. You want the Dongwang Bell? You're really greedy sticks. The great sage of the ocean cover roared, and a mighty radiance suddenly burst out, turning into a 10,000-foot-long golden Jiao dragon. Boom! The huge golden Jiao dragon suddenly twisted, and the frozen ice shattered and scattered in all directions. Roar! With an earth-shattering roar, the huge golden Jiao dragon swung its dragon tail. It did not stop, and did not even check if the golden Jiao King was frozen by the frost chi. It turned and left without hesitation, rushing to the bottom of the sea. He had to stop the other snake demon, and not let it discover the Dongwang Bell, let alone activate it. Otherwise, everything would be over. The Dongwang Bell was also known as the Bell of Chaos. It was the ultimate treasure of the Dongwang Tai, a connate spirit treasure and a chaos divine artifact. Even a saint would be interested in such a treasure. After all, the Dongwang Bell was on the same level as the Panga Banner and the Taiji diagram. Although the Dongwang Bell in the great sage's hands was incomplete, no one would complain about having too many of such treasures. He must not be exposed. The Kuanpeng must be suspicious and testing me. He wasn't sure that I had the East Emperor's treasure. He was just testing me. As long as I can stop that snake demon and prevent them from discovering the whereabouts of the Dongwang Bell, he can't do anything to me. However, when the great sage of the ocean cover rushed to the bottom of the sea with all his might, he was shocked to find that the snake demon that had rushed to the underwater cave abode had suddenly self-detonated. Boom! An earth-shattering boom rang out as a boundless power erupted and swept out in all directions. A violent and boundless power surged up, shaking the heavens and the earth. In an instant, a large part of the sea evaporated. The underwater cave of the great sage ocean cover, as well as the countless aquatic creatures in the cave, were all turned into powder in this self-explosion. Of course, the great sage of the ocean cover didn't care about the cave and the aquatic creatures in it at all. However, the impact of this explosion had already collided with an ancient and modeled bronze palace. No, as the great sage of the ocean cover howled miserably, the impact of the snake demon's self-detonation collided with the ancient bronze palace. Dong! The sound of a bell rang through the clouds. The moment the snake demon's self-detonation collided with the ancient bronze palace, the huge ancient bronze palace suddenly burst into a brilliant light and turned into a bronze bell. The bell rang, reverberating through the 9 heavens and shaking the heavens and the earth. At this moment, It was as if time and space had stopped, as if everything in the world had been imprisoned, as if everything had come to a standstill. The Dongwang Bell had the power to reverse time and space, the power to develop the mysteries of the heavenly Tao, and the ability to refine earth, water, fire, and wind. A connate treasure, a supreme treasure used to suppress primordial chaos when Pangu split the heavens and earth apart. The sky was filled with strange phenomena. There was the supreme scene of the creation of the heavens and earth, the brilliance of the sun, moon, and stars, the swirling of earth, water, fire, and wind, the evolution of mountains and rivers, and the appearance of all living beings. The five-colored light illuminated the heavens. The bell of chaos intimidated the universe. Endless mysteries, suppressed time and space, suppressed primordial chaos. The bell rang mightily. The heavens and earth trembled, and the universe lost its color. In just an instant, the bell fell silent, and everything returned to normal. Even so, the great sage of the ocean cover knew that he could no longer return to normal. It's over. The great sage of the ocean cover's face turned pale, and his entire body trembled. The bell of chaos, a supreme treasure that split the heavens, a sacred relic of Pangu. How could a mere golden immortal like him own such an item? The supreme treasures of heaven and earth belong to the virtuous. Aside from the saints, who else could be virtuous? Even if you were virtuous, you would have to be immoral. In the northern underworld ocean, the Kuan Pong was startled and rushed out of the northern underworld ice sea, looking toward the South Sea with a face full of shock. The Dongwang Bell, without any hesitation, the Kuan Pong revealed its true form and transformed into a boundless Kuan Pong true body, spreading its wings and soaring for billions of miles as it tore through the air and rushed toward the South Sea. The Dongwang Bell, the blood sea churned as the Nether River Patriarch broke through the air and rushed toward the South Sea as well. The Dongwang Bell? That's mine. That's mine. Flames filled the sky as a three-legged golden crow raised its head and roared, breaking through the air and rushing toward the South Sea as well. The Dongwang Bell? It's appearing now. It's just a bell. The hanging hammer has yet to appear. The heavenly secrets are in chaos, and the Dongwang Bell has appeared ahead of time. Is that Yu Huang de Tianzuan's doing? The saints glanced toward the South Sea and smiled, but did not make a move. Could that Yu Huang de Tianzuan be trying to prove his Tao with the Bell of Chaos? Trying to prove his Tao with strength? He's got some guts. Unfortunately, the Bell of Chaos was incomplete, and so was Pangu's understanding of opening the skies. The path of proving one's Tao with strength did not work, and no one had succeeded. Since that great heavenly venerate Yu Huang has made a move with his Saint of the Outer Tao level, unless we saints personally take action, no one else will be able to take advantage of him. Forget it. Let him be. He won't be able to cause any trouble anyway. The saints wanted to solve the problem of the great God-confirmant war and did not want to cause any trouble. They did not want to fight over half of the Bell of Chaos. More importantly, the saints were very willing to let the Bell of Chaos fall into Li Yu's hands. That was because the moment the Bell of Chaos appeared, it was exposed to the saints. It could no longer be hidden. Li Yu could no longer escape the saint surveillance with the exposed Bell of Chaos. But who told you that I need the Bell of Chaos? Although it was a heaven-opening treasure and an artifact formed by chaos, it was even more powerful than the Chaos Silver Armor and Chaos Spear that Li Yu had seen in another Pearl of Destruction. However, Li Yu did not need that. His Yu Huang Bell was not inferior to the Bell of Chaos. Advancing to the second step of chaos was the key. Li Yu naturally would not mess up his plan for the Bell of Chaos. After I advance to the second step of chaos, I will rob all of you. Chapter 1351. The Appearance of the Dongwang Bell. At this time, in the fifth manner, Xin Yuanzi stood up in shock. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the South Sea, frowning. The appearance of the Dongwang Bell? Who's behind this? Zhen Yuanzi was focused on the primordial violet vapor. He planned to push the war of the gods to seize the primordial violet vapor. The sudden appearance of the Dongwang bell caught Zhen Yuanzi off guard. He felt like he was being led by the nose. The appearance of the Dongwang bell is too strange if I don't show up. I have to go. Although he felt like he was being tricked, Zhen Yuanzi knew that it would be too conspicuous if he didn't fight for it. Boom! A mighty green rainbow shot into the sky. The shadow of the ginseng fruit tree appeared and filled the sky with green clouds. Zhen Yuanzi took a step forward and soared into the sky, rushing toward the South Sea. In the direction of the three mountains pass, a colorful light shone and the five elements circulated. Kong Xian revealed his true form and turned into a huge peacock. He spread his wings and rushed toward the South Sea. At this moment, the South Sea was filled with huge waves. Now that the Dongwang bell was exposed, how could the great sage of the ocean cover just sit there and wait for his death? He quickly picked up the Dongwang bell and ran. Fuhai, so the Dongwang bell is in your hands. Leave the Dongwang bell, and I'll spare your life. A humongous Kuan Peng that blotted out the sky flew across the universe with its wings covering the sky. The pressure it emitted was so strong that it seemed as if even the void was about to collapse. Boom! A gigantic bird claw descended from the skies and tore through the void, grabbing down at the wretched great sage of the ocean cover. What's going on? On the surface of the South Sea, the Golden Dragon King and Shun Gongbao were completely stunned. Uncle, run! At this moment, a figure appeared in the sky, grabbed Shun Gongbao, and dragged him away. Liu, you're not dead yet? Seeing Liu suddenly appear, Shun Gongbao was surprised and happy. That's great, as long as you're fine. Their target wasn't me. I tried to stop them for a while, but they pushed me back and ignored me, Liu said as he pulled Shun Gongbao up and fled. Yes, their target is the Dongwang bell. At this moment, everyone could see that the snake demon's attack was for the Dongwang bell. I shouldn't have fled to the South Sea. I've harmed father. The Golden Flood Dragon King blamed himself and followed behind Shun Gongbao. With the appearance of the Dongwang bell, this place would definitely become a battlefield. If they didn't run away quickly, the shock waves from the battle would shatter them. Kuanpeng, you will die a horrible death. At this moment, a shrill roar sounded from the distant South Sea. A humongous Kuan Peng grabbed a golden flood dragon with its claws and tore it into two with a great force. Opening its huge mouth, the Kuan Peng swallowed the two halves of the golden flood dragon. Royal father! When the golden Wyrm king saw this, his eyes turned red as he roared in grief and indignation. The great sage of the ocean cover was only in the golden immortal realm. Compared to the Kuan Peng who was in the quasi-saint realm, he was far inferior. Moreover, although the Dongwang bell was in the hands of the great sage of the ocean cover, he couldn't control it at all. Against the Kuan Peng, it only took an instant for him to die. Even his body was swallowed by the Kuan Peng. Dongwang bell. After killing the great sage of the ocean cover, the Kuan Peng quickly grabbed the Dongwang bell left behind by the great sage of the ocean cover. Kuan Peng, the Dongwang bell belongs to my uncle. This is mine. You traitor! How dare you snatch something that belongs to me? Golden flames filled the sky as a golden, three-legged golden crow rushed to the South Sea like a falling sun. Treasure, please turn around. The golden crow roared, and a black gourd rushed out from the golden flames. The black gourd hung above the golden crow's head, and a cold aura filled the sky. Boom! A silver-white light shot up from the mouth of the gourd into the sky, like a white rainbow crossing the universe. Immortal slaying flying saber. Seeing this, the Kuan Peng didn't have time to retrieve the Dongwang bell. He quickly released the He Tu and Luo Shu to form a light screen above his head. Clang! The immortal slaying flying knife fell on the Kuan Peng's head, but was blocked by the He Tu and Luo Shu. It couldn't stop the Kuan Peng's primordial spirit at all. The knife couldn't cut it down. Traitor! Seeing the Kuan Peng block the immortal slaying flying knife with the He Tu and Luo Shu, Liao was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. "This is my father's treasure. You traitor, you stole my father's He Tu and Luo Shu, and now you want to steal my uncle's Dongwang Bell. You deserve to die. 10th Prince, your cultivation isn't enough to protect the late emperor's treasure. I'll take care of these things for you." The Kuan Peng sneered, turned his wings, and flapped them at Luya. Luya was only a golden immortal. Although the immortal slaying flying knife was ferocious, it couldn't cut the Kuan Peng who had the He Tu and Luo Shu protecting him. The Kuan Peng's wings pushed Liao back, and the Kuan Peng reached out with a claw that exploded with light and grabbed at the Dongwang Bell. Clang! A sword whistle soared into the sky. 2 pitch-black sword lights shot out. They were ruthless, vicious, and monstrous. "Yuan-Tu, Abi, Mingi, you're courting death." Just as he was about to take the Dongwang Bell, the Yuan-Tu and Abi sword arrived. The Kuan Peng was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only retract his claws and block Mingi's attack. Caw! With a crow's cry, Liao took the opportunity while the two were fighting to turn into a line of fire and charged at the Dongwang Bell. "You're courting death." Mingi and the Kuan Peng were about to fight when they suddenly saw Luya trying to take advantage of the situation. They were furious. Boom! A cold air and a bloodlight hit Luya at almost the same time. "Grandson, primordial flame." Luya roared, and golden flames burst out from his body, blocking the combined attack of the Kuan Peng and Mingi. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. Golden flames, cold air, and bloodlight exploded violently. Luya's cultivation was weaker, and he was sent hundreds of miles away by the violent impact. Mingi Kuan Peng die. A ginseng fruit tree that reached the sky came crashing down on Mingi and the Kuan Peng. Xinyuanzi. Mingi and the Kuan Peng had once tried to kill Hong Yun, and they had a deep grudge against Xinyuanzi. Seeing Xinyuanzi's attack, the two no longer cared about fighting for the Dongwang Bell. The ink-black Yuan-Tu and Abi swords slashed at the ginseng fruit tree. He Tu Luo Shu. A tortoise shell and a jade book rushed out from the top of the Kuan Peng's head and smashed at the direction where Xinyuanzi was coming from. Earthbook suppression. The dense power of the earth exploded, and yellow light swept across the sky as if the entire earth was pressing down. Since the three of you are so humble, I, Kong Xian, will gladly accept the Dongwang Bell. Black, white, red, yellow, and green. 5 rays of light shot into the sky. In just a flash, the Dongwang Bell fell and was taken by Kong Xian. "Ha ha ha! The Dongwang Bell is mine." Kong Xian laughed heartily, turned around, and fled. Chapter 1352. Kong Xian, you're courting death. The 3 demi-saints flew into a rage when they saw Kong Xian knock down the Dongwang Bell. How dare a mere golden immortal like Kong Xian try to take advantage of the 3 demi-saints? You're courting death. Mingi, Kuan Peng, and Zhen Yuanzi stopped fighting as if they had a tacit understanding. They attacked Kong Xian together. Boom! The pitch-black Yuan-Tu and Avicii swords, the brilliant He Tu and Luo Shu, and the ginseng fruit tree all came at Kong Xian. Even Xinyuanzi, who wanted to team up with Kong Xian, wouldn't reveal that they were working together and attack Kong Xian as well. "Please turn around, baby." The immortal slaying flying saber shot out a white beam and slashed at Kong Xian's head. Liao, who'd been knocked away by Mingi and Kuan Peng, also charged at Kong Xian angrily. Naturally, Liao wouldn't let the Dongwang Bell fall into Kong Xian's hands and attacked without hesitation. Grand 5 elements magnetism annihilation light. Naturally, Kong Xian had already anticipated their attack. Kong Xian was no longer the Kong Xian of the past. He'd become a demi-saint, and his own connate 5-color godly light had merged with Liu's grand 5 elements magnetism annihilation light, becoming even more terrifying. Black, white, red, yellow, and green. 5 beams of light shot into the sky and intertwined, forming a 5-colored light that rippled out like a light wave. Annihilation, destruction, annihilation. Under this 5-colored light, the breeze was annihilated, the clouds were annihilated, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was annihilated. All matter and energy were annihilated. Boom! The immortal slaying flying saber's white beam was swept by the five-colored light and instantly exploded into nothingness. Boom! UN2 and Avicii's two beams of sword chi were also swept away and vanished. Boom! The He2 and Luo Shu's two beams of godly light were also swept away by this annihilation light. Boom! The green light from the ginseng fruit tree vanished instantly. Kong Xian had repelled the joint attack of 3 demi-saints and a golden immortal with a single attack. His divine power was simply terrifying. You become a demi-saint? Kunpeng looked at Kong Xian in shock, his face gloomy. The other people's faces were also very ugly. Even though he was only a golden immortal, Kong Xian's connate 5-color divine light was no less powerful than an attack from a demi-saint. Now that Kong Xian had become a quasi-saint, his innate 5-colored godly light had become even more terrifying. So what if you become a quasi-sage? You'll still die under our joint attack. Mingi roared, and the UN2 and Avicii swords soared into the sky. Exactly. Kunpeng followed closely behind and quickly released He2 and Luo Shu to attack Kong Xian. Leave the Dongwang bell behind, or we won't let this go. Luya also attacked. In order not to expose the fact that they were working together, Jin Yuanzi also pretended to fight. No matter how powerful Kong Xian was, it was also impossible for him to withstand the joint attack of so many people. The Great Five Elements Proto-Magnetic Annihilation Divine Light was an instantaneous eruption. It was not a conventional method. Although the 5-color Divine Light could wipe out everything, it could not suppress other quasi-saints. Even if the brush fell, it wouldn't be able to suppress it. Kong Xian had been taken away by Kundi because the 5-color Divine Light had swept Kundi in, and then Kundi had broken through the 5-color Divine Light and taken him away. Damn it! Kong Xian roared and unleashed the 5 Elements Annihilation Divine Light again, blocking the joint attack of the 4. However, this was not a long-term solution. The 5 Elements Annihilation Divine Light consumed a lot of spiritual energy, and Kong Xian could not keep using it. Once his spiritual energy was depleted, only death awaited him. Even if Jin Yuanzi went easy on him, he would not be able to withstand Mingi and Kunpeng's joint attack, not to mention Lu Ya's immortal slaying flying dagger from time to time. Moreover, Kong Xian did not know if Jin Yuanzi would really go easy on him. Whether it was a joint attack or an alliance, it was unreliable. Along the way, Kong Xian fought against 3 quasi-sages and Lu Ya alone. Gradually, he found it strenuous. Your eyes hired thug. How can I let you die here? Li Yu, Shun Gongbao, and the Golden Flood Dragon King watched the show from afar. Seeing that Kong Xian was getting tired, Li Yu smiled and began to move. Kong Xian, the 5 Elements gem that I gave you has a system inside. Flicking his finger, Li Yu connected to the 5 Elements gem through the system. System, scan the Dongwang bell and use the 5 Elements gem as the base to create the Dongwang bell's hanging hammer. The Dongwang bell was a chaos treasure, and the Dongwang bell in Kong Xian's hand only had the body of the bell and no hanging hammer. The system was the proof of chaos in the 3rd step of the chaos. As long as it was something below the 3rd step of the chaos, there was nothing it could not create. Although the Dongwang bell was powerful, it was at most a 1st step chaos item, similar to Li Yu's Yuhuang bell. The system extracted Li Yu's chaos chi and used the 5 Elements gem as the base to create the missing hanging hammer of the Dongwang bell. Wang. Just when Kong Xian could not hold on any longer, the 5 Elements gem in his storage space suddenly burst out with a ray of light and rushed out of the storage space. This is... Kong Xian was shocked. The 5 Elements gem melted instantly and turned into a bronze wheel that rushed into the Dongwang bell. How did the 5 Elements gem become like this? Could it be? Thinking of a possibility, Kong Xian was ecstatic. Sure enough, this is my unique opportunity. It did not disappoint Kong Xian. when the five elements gem turned into a bronze wheel and rushed into the Dongwon bell. The Dongwon bell burst out with a brilliant light. Dang! The sound of the bell shook the world. Everything in the world, the sun, the moon, the stars, time, space, earth, water, fire, wind, everything in the world trembled under the sound of the bell. Kong Xian stood in the air with the Dongwon bell hanging above his head. The divine light was vast and mighty, shaking the world. The sky was filled with strange phenomena. The phenomenon of the creation of the world, the phenomenon of the sun, the moon, the stars, wind, clouds, thunder, snow, mountains, rivers, birds, beasts, insects, and fish, all kinds of strange phenomena were circulating around the Dongwon bell. At this moment, the entire world seemed to be cheering and worshiping. They were cheering for the birth of the Dongwon bell. The Dongwon bell, the complete Dongwon bell. Kunpeng's face was pale. Seeing Kong Xian standing in the air with the Dongwon bell above his head, it was as if he had seen the peerless paragon who dominated the world. Dongwon Tai. Kunpeng's body trembled as he screamed and turned to run. Damn it! How did he get the other half of the Dongwon bell? Mingyi was filled with hatred, but he knew when to retreat. Without hesitation, he turned and ran. Congratulations, Brother Kong Xian. Zhen Yuanzi cupped his hands and left. Uncle's Dongwon bell has recognized you as its master. Liu took a deep breath. His expression was gloomy as he cupped his hands at Kong Xian and left. The Dongwon bell has been born. It has been born in its complete form. At this moment, the sages sitting high in the sky were dumbfounded. Chapter 1353. The hammer of the Dongwon bell was in Kong Xian's hands, and now the Dongwon bell was complete. The complete Dongwon bell was equivalent to the Panga banner and the Taiji diagram. Even the sages would want such a divine item. However, there was only one Dongwon bell, and no one would give it up. Unless there was another battle between the sages, no one knew who the Dongwon bell would belong to. The investiture of the gods is near, and Kong Xian is also part of the tribulation. The primeval Lord of Heaven opened his eyes slightly and said calmly, "Excellent, excellent." The other sages nodded in agreement and reached an agreement. Since Kong Xian was also part of the investiture of the gods, then whoever killed Kong Xian would get the Dongwon bell. Of course, there would be a fight, and everyone would have to rely on their own means. The sages won't do it themselves, so I'm worth a lot as a fighter. With the Dongwon bell in hand, Kong Xian would definitely bring pressure to many people. Moreover, Li had already done something. The system in the five elements divine stone had already been integrated into the Dongwon bell. Li used the Dongwon bell to release a killing intent to Kunpeng, and it was very easy. Sudden inspiration? Scared out of your wits? While flying, Kunpeng suddenly felt a chill in his heart, as if there was an inexplicable danger shrouding his heart. According to some saying, this was the omen of death. What's going on? Why do I suddenly feel a killing intent coming? Yes, Kong Xian has the Dongwon bell. He must be the one who's going to attack me. Damn it! Damn it! Kunpeng's face was pale, and his eyes were gloomy. Back then, Kunpeng and the Phoenix had many old grudges. Although things had changed with the passage of time, it was already a matter of the past. However, what if Kong Xian wanted to avenge his people? With the Dongwon bell in hand, no one was a match for Kong Xian except for the sages. Kunpeng still had many good things in his hands, such as the He Tu and the Luo inscription. If Kong Xian used the Phoenix's old grudges as an excuse to attack Kunpeng and snatch the He Tu and the Luo inscription, then there would be no way to reason. No, I have to find a backer. Otherwise, I won't be able to escape this calamity. Kunpeng paused and rolled his green eyes. He had an idea. Old Lord Wu Wei. He won't pay attention to me. Yuan's standards are too high. He doesn't think highly of an alien like me, who isn't a descendant of Pangu. Niuhua is a saint of the demon clan. Unfortunately, when Eastern Emperor Tai and Emperor Jun perished, I ran away with the demon emperor's treasure. Niuhua will definitely not be happy. When the heavenly court of the ancient demon race was destroyed, the Kunpeng also played a dishonorable role. It could not escape the name of a traitor. Nuo wouldn't do anything to the Kuan Peng. However, if the Kuan Peng went to her, Goddess Nviwa would ignore him. The Western sect. If I enter the sect, I can't even stick to meat and fish. I can't stand that restriction. The only way out is to reach the heavens. The Tongtian sect taught everyone regardless of background. It treated everyone equally regardless of background. Tens of thousands of immortals came to pay respects to it, and it was extremely prosperous. It was indeed a good place to go. From the signs I've discovered, the Saints are having a new round of games. At this time, the Tongtian sect shouldn't reject powerful figures. The Kuan Peng nodded. He already had an idea. Ji Ming, Ing Zhao Baizhe, Halcyon, Shangyang, etc. These 10 great demon generals left behind by the ancient demon race's heavenly court are suitable for my advancement. A quasi-saint Kuan Peng, 10 golden immortal demon generals, and the frost dragonized toad under the Kuan Peng sect could make up 12 golden immortals. Although the quality was far inferior, the number was equivalent to the 12 golden immortals under the primordial beginning sect. The Tongtian sect would definitely not reject such a gift. With a clear plan, the Kuan Peng immediately moved and prepared to join forces with the 10 great demon generals to join the Tongtian sect. Li Yu's plan to strengthen the Tongtian sect's lineup had been successfully completed. The Kuan Peng is a quasi-saint. Together with the people he invited, the Tongtian sect's lineup will be much stronger. With the pressure on primordial beginning increasing, he will definitely get more external help. The Western sect is a suitable target to rope in. Through the appearance of the Eastern Emperor Bell, Liu had already calculated everyone. In order to take back the Eastern Emperor Bell and the He Tu and Luo Shu, Liu would definitely join the Primordial Beginnings lineup. The Nether River Patriarch was eyeing the primordial violet vapor, but he would not give up on the Eastern Emperor Bell. It was inevitable that he would participate in the battle. As for Hao Yin, as the spokesperson of Hongjun, he only had a few underlings and only one treasure. The Hao Yin mirror was countless times worse than the Eastern Emperor Bell. No matter from which perspective, Hao Yin would definitely interfere in the Apotheosis War. With the Ling Zhuzi incident, the third prince of the Dragon King killed Ling Zhuzi. However, under the pressure of the primordial beginning, Hao Qian had no choice but to cut off one of his arms and hand over the third prince of the Dragon King. Hao Qian's face was swollen. The conflict was deep, and he would definitely participate in the battle. After preparing so much and scheming for so long, up until now, everything has been planned. We're just waiting for the Apotheosis War to start. Liu chuckled and turned to look at Shun Gongbao beside him with a panicked expression. Uncle Master, it's too dangerous outside. I plan to go home. Yes. It's too dangerous. In the Battle of 4 Demi-Saints, a veteran golden immortal like the great sage of the ocean cover had died without even showing up. This really scared Shin Gongbao. Brother Jean, my condolences. Shin Gongbao cupped his hands at the Golden Flood Dragon King. Brother Jean, you still have to take care of your funeral. I won't disturb you. Goodbye. With that, Shin Gongbao and Liu turned and left the South Sea. Uncle Master Shun, I'll take my leave. With the matter settled and the scam over, Liu did not plan to hang around with Shin Gongbao any longer. He bade farewell and floated away on a cloud. After leaving the South Sea, Liu returned to Yongzhou and the Green Mountain sect. I'm back. The vast and mighty green light soared into the sky. It was awe-inspiring, and its aura surged through the mountains and rivers. Liu laughed arrogantly as he charged forward, causing the surrounding void to rumble. Ah, the demon is back again. The disciples of the Green Mountain sect screamed in fright as they fled in panic. They were afraid that they would provoke this demon again and be dealt with badly. How dare you? Huh? You. The elders of the Green Mountain sect were about to curse when they suddenly saw the boundless aura on Liu. They all paled in fright. Liu, you, what? What cultivation is this? Oh, just a grand unity, true immortal. Liu answered with a smile. Just a grand unity, true immortal? The corners of the elders' mouths twitched. Grand unity, true immortal? Just a grand unity, true immortal? You're already a grand unity, true immortal? Li Qingshan was shocked. He was both surprised and overjoyed. He was trembling all over. Young Master Yu is already a grand unity, true immortal? Li Yu is already a grand unity, true immortal. Heavens, why are you so unfair? Why is a scourge like Li Yu so powerful? Why can't good people like us stand out? The disciples of the Green Mountain sect were completely dumbfounded. If you don't return to your hometown when you're rich, it's like walking in the night. If you're rich, you should return home and show off. Chapter 1354. After returning to the Green Mountain sect, Liu settled down in his cave abode. Everything that needed to be done had been set up. All that was left was to wait for the show to begin. On this day, through Su Daji's system, Liu saw that the Marquis of the West, Ji Chong, had been imprisoned. His eldest son, Bo Yikao, had come to redeem Ji Chong. That was when Liu knew that the war of deification had finally begun. Su Daji had seen the future and knew that Western Zhou was going to rebel. Therefore, she killed Ji Chong and Bo Yikao. King Zhou of Shang is tyrannical. With his father and brother dead, GFA rebelled and led the army of Western Zhou to defeat King Zhou. Western Zhou and the Shang were separated by a large river called Mengjin. The Western Zhou army, led by King Wu, sailed across Mengjin on 10,000 boats. Then kaboom! Waves surged and the heavenly river flowed. Huge waves rose from the upper reaches of the Mengjin River and swept toward the army of Western Zhou like a tsunami. In the blink of an eye, Western Zhou's army of 100,000 was completely annihilated by this huge wave. Many of them died or were injured. The heavens are going to kill me. When GFA saw this, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. What is going on? Jiang Zia was so scared that his face turned pale and his body trembled. Didn't they say that this was the will of the heavens? Didn't they say that they wanted me to become a god? Why were they wiped out as soon as they left home? How are they going to fight the next battle if they failed? Ha ha! Western Zhou bastards, Her Majesty knew that you were going to rebel. She ordered us to build a dam at the upper reaches of the Mengjin River. A water attack will wipe out 100,000 of your soldiers. On the other side of the Mengjin River, the army of the Shang dynasty swarmed toward them. A general raised his spear and pointed it at the defeated soldiers of Western Zhou. He shouted, "Surrender now, or your families will be exterminated." How did this happen? How did this happen? The rebellion had not even begun, and Su Daji was already prepared. How is this possible? Jiang Zia was dumbfounded. "Martial uncle, don't worry. I'll help you defeat the enemy." In midair, a golden light broke through the air, and a handsome young man in a water-fusion Taoist robe, straw sandals, and holding a three-pointed double-edged saber, followed by a dog, flew through the air and landed next to Jiang Zia. "Yang Jian, you've come. This is great. That's great." Yang Jian was a disciple of perfected Yuding. He was one of the top figures among the third-generation disciples of Chan School. His 9 revolutions mystic art made him invincible. His mystical abilities were extremely powerful. "Martial nephew, please defeat the enemy quickly." At this moment, the morale of the army had plummeted, and if Yang Jian did not quickly restore it, there would be no need to fight this battle. Jiang Zia hurriedly asked Yang Jian to help. "A bunch of ants will break in a moment." Yang Jian raised his three-pointed double-edged saber and pointed it at the Shang army on the other side of the river. "Xiao Tianquan, devour them." Woof woof! With a loud bark, the howling celestial dog leaped into the air. Its entire body exploded with light as it transformed into a humongous beast. Then, it opened its mouth and bit down, swallowing the Shang dynasty's army whole. "Immortal! Immortals! We have the help of immortals. Victory! 10,000 victories!" The low morale was instantly boosted. Jiang Zia quickly took the opportunity to lead his troops to the east, past Mengjin, and into the heart of the Shang dynasty. Preposterous! Seeing this scene, Tong Tian flew into a rage. Immortals are actually involved in a battle between mortals? Where are the rules? Immortals against immortals, and mortals against mortals. This was the default rule of the game. And now, you, Primeval, are releasing immortals to deal with mortals? Wasn't this too shameless? You have Yang Jian, but I don't have anyone? Tong Tian waved his hand. Kuan-Peng, lead the 10 demon generals and join the Shang dynasty. Beat them up. Yes. Kuan-Peng, who had turned to Tong Tian, naturally knew that he was here as a fighter, so he had to show his value. Kuan-Peng bowed and accepted the order. Then, he led the 10 demon generals and his subordinates, the Frost Dragon and Ice Toads, and soared into the sky, rushing towards Xiaoga. The primeval Lord of Heaven naturally knew about it. Junior brother Tong Tian, aren't you being too impatient? Primeval Lord of Heaven smiled and shook his head. He waved his flag and said, Randang, lead the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void Palace to Western Zhou and meet up with Jiang Zia. Yes. Randang accepted the order and led Guang Chengzi and the other 12 golden immortals to Western Zhou. Goddess, Luya requests an audience. In Nuwa Palace, Nuwa's maidservant reported to Nuwa. Luya? Nuwa nodded. The grudge between Kuan-Peng and Luya also needs to be resolved. Forget it. Let him settle the karma in the great God-confirmant war. With a wave of her hand, a scroll fell into the maidservant's hand. Hand the mountain river map to Luya. 10th Prince, Goddess ordered me to give you this. The maidservant walked out of Nuwa Palace and handed the mountain river map to Luya. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you, Goddess. Seeing the mountain river map, how could Luya not know what Nuwa meant? He hurriedly took the mountain river map and kowtowed heavily. Then, a golden light rushed up, and Luya rushed to Western Zhou. It can't be, right? They're playing so big at the beginning? Primordial Beginning sent Randang and the 12 golden immortals, while Nuwa sent Luya. Tong Tian released Kuan-Peng and the 10 Directions demon generals. It looked like they were planning to fight to death from the beginning. However, this was also in line with Li Yu's interests. The fiercer they fought, the better. Middle-earth. With Yang Jian's help, the Western Zhou army also sent Taoist Randang and the 12 golden immortals, as well as Luya. They were simply too powerful. They pushed forward for thousands of kilometers and broke through dozens of cities. No one could stop them. Then, Western Zhou's attack was blocked. Heavenly Cycle Star Array. In front of the city, starlight shone within 1,000 kilometers. It was the Heavenly Cycle Star Array of the ancient demon heavenly courts. Kuan-Peng, you traitor, you will die a horrible death. When Luya saw the Heavenly Cycle Star Array, he was so angry that sparks flew everywhere. The He-Tu and the Luo Shu had fallen into Kuan-Peng's hands. The Heavenly Cycle Star Array of the ancient demon heavenly courts had also fallen into Kuan-Peng's hands. These should have been Luya's. Fellow Taoist Luya, don't be angry. Randang looked up at the Heavenly Cycle Star Array in front of him and shook his head with a smile. If all the heavenly lords of the ancient heavenly courts were here and set up the Heavenly Cycle Star Array, we would indeed not be able to break it. However, how many people does Kuan-Peng have now? This array is incomplete. It's not difficult to break it. Indeed, Guang Chengzi nodded. Kuan-Peng only has 12 golden immortals that are worthy of his attention. The rest are just ants. Only the central Ziwei altar is considered powerful. The other arrays are just a bluff. Let's enter the array and meet this Kuan-Peng. A bronze lamp rushed out of Ronding's head and shone brightly. He led everyone into the Heavenly Cycle Star Array. Rumble. Stars fell like rain. Starlight flashed in the sky, shaking the Heavenly Cycle Star Array. The stars exploded with resplendent light and smashed down on the people who had entered the array. It's just the power of the stars. Randang waved his hand. The bronze lamp above his head released flames that filled the sky and blocked the falling stars. Everyone attacked and swept past. They broke through the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise arrays and charged towards the central Ziwei altar. Kill our way to the Ziwei altar? Very good. Kuenpeng's eyes shone with a vicious light. Chapter 1355. The heavenly cycle star array is only SOS so. Randang swept through with the 12 golden immortals. They were unstoppable. The soldiers of the Shang dynasty, the itinerant cultivators, and the cultivators of the Jia order were no match for the Shang dynasty's army. They could not even withstand a single strike from the Shang dynasty's army. Those who were qualified to be on the list had a wisp of true spirit land on the God Confirmant platform. Those who were not qualified to be on the list could only turn into ashes. They swept through without any difficulty. Everyone looked down on the heavenly cycle star array that did not live up to its name. Boom! When everyone arrived at the purple star altar, there was a shocking explosion in the void. Kuenpeng jumped out of the array platform with his 12 subordinates. With the power of the heavenly cycle star array, they transformed into the star lords of the ancient heavenly courts. Their auras soared. Thank you for breaking the 4 symbols constellation formation and allowing me to use the star annihilation technique. Kuenpeng laughed loudly and leaped up. He released the He Tu and Luo Shu and charged towards Randang. At the same time, the 10 Directions Demon General and the Ice Dragon Toad under Kuenpeng faced the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void Palace. Star annihilation technique? You have some ability. Randang was also a quasi-sage and was on par with Kuenpeng. It was difficult to determine the victor. Originally, Randang's chance of winning was on the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void. With the cultivation of the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void and their Dharma treasures, it was not difficult to deal with the Demon General. However, at that moment, Kuenpeng used the Star Annihilation technique and the power of the Heavenly Cycle Star Array on the Demon General. He was actually on par with the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void. However, treasure, please turn around. The addition of Luya in the Jade Void lineup was the key to breaking the situation. While Guang Qingzi used the Heaven Seal to knock Demon General Fei Lian back, Luya took the opportunity to release the immortal-slaying Flying Saber. A white rainbow rushed up and landed on Fei Lian's head. The gourd spun, and Fei Lian's head fell to the dust. He instantly fell to the ground and died. Kuenpeng, this is not fate. Today is the day of your tribulation. Guang Qingzi, who is now free, waved the cyclic heavenly seal and faced Bai Zhe together with Reverend Huanglong. After a few moves, Huanglong released the dragon locking ring and trapped Bai Zhe for a moment. Guang Qingzi took the opportunity to slap down the sky flipping seal. With just one smash, Bai Zhe's brain was smashed and it fell to the ground. Following that, Luya used the immortal slaying Flying Saber to sneak an attack on Jimeng. After losing 3 golden immortals, it was obvious that Kuenpeng's side was going to lose. Guang Qingzi perfected Yellow Dragon, Chijingzi, and Luya, who were free to attack, killed the 12 golden immortals under the Kuenpeng. Not long after, the Ziwei altar was destroyed, and the 12 golden immortals under the Kuenpeng had all perished. The Hollow Jade Palace did not suffer any losses. In this battle, the Jade Void sect won a complete victory. At least you didn't embarrass me. The primeval Lord of Heaven stroked his beard and smiled, nodding slightly. It's too early for you to celebrate. His Majesty Emperor Yu is also smiling. If I don't let you bleed, how can you feel pain? How can you be willing to invest? In the original God Confirmant plot, the Grand Master of Heaven was heartbroken when he saw that his disciples had suffered heavy casualties. In the end, he picked up the immortal vanquishing 4 swords and personally went down. Primeval Beginning was even more shameless. When he saw that the 12 golden immortals had their 3 flowers cut off by Yun Zhao's primordial chaos golden chalice, he was so angry that he ignored his status and bullied the weak. He swung the Jade Rui and smashed the 3 Shao immortals into ashes. Therefore, Liu naturally wanted to make them feel pain. Of course, he wanted them to fight out their true anger. Kuenpeng, hand over your life. The 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void and Luya were free to meet up with Randang and send Kuenpeng to the God Roll. Everyone was in this heaven and earth-killing tribulation. Only by sending the enemy to the God roll and filling the spots on the God roll could they avoid this killing tribulation. Therefore, no one would let a person like Kuan Peng off. Moreover, Luya had long wanted to deal with Kuan Peng. The mountain river painting. Suppress. Luya roared and gathered all the spiritual energy in his body. He drove the mountain river map and suppressed the Kuan Peng. Facing the siege of Randang, a quasi-sage, and the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void, as well as the attack of the mountain river painting released by Luya, Kuan Peng could not resist even if he was a quasi-sage. However, Kuan Peng did not show any surprise. Instead, he sneered. Roar! A shrill fox howl soared into the sky. Monstrous demonic aura rushed into the clouds. In the broken heavenly cycle star formation, 365 brilliant stars suddenly lit up. The 365 resplendent orbs of light actually reformed into the massive heavenly cycle star formation. Golden rainbows filled the sky, brilliant and brilliant. However, in this brilliant golden radiance, there were pitch black and deep black holes. Endless suction force suddenly erupted. In an instant, the black holes were aimed at Randang, Luya, and the 12 golden immortals. The vast and boundless suction force crazily sucked everything. The vitality and spiritual chi in their bodies surged wildly into the black holes like a river bursting its banks. How terrifying was the heavenly cycle star formation formed by the demonic sky-devouring skill. The spiritual chi that Luya used to drive the mountain river painting dissipated crazily. The radiance of the mountain river painting on the mountain was instantly extinguished. At the same time, Randang and the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void felt the spiritual chi in their bodies rapidly depleting. This is a nine-tailed fox. Everyone was shocked to discover that a white-clothed woman with monstrous demonic aura appeared beside Kuan Peng. Behind the woman, 9 snow-white foxtails were wriggling like dragons. Sudaji? This is Sudaji. She's just a little fox demon. Why is she so powerful? Everyone present knew about Sudaji, that vixen's background. She was just a pawn of goddess Nvaiwa, a little fox with a shallow cultivation. However, why was this little fox so powerful? Thank you for killing the 10 demon generals and the frost dragon ice toad. After absorbing their power, I now have the power of 12 golden immortals. Sudaji's face was ferocious. All of you must die, you evil creature. How dare you disobey me? When Nuwa saw this scene, her phoenix-like eyes widened and her face flushed red. She felt so embarrassed that she could not show her face. As a demon saint, the spy that she had personally sent actually betrayed her? How could Nuwa have the face to meet others? How dare you, evil creature? Nuwa was furious as she waved her hand and slapped out. The mountain river painting in Luya's hand that had extinguished its radiance suddenly burst out with endless light. Vast and boundless power gathered on the mountain river painting. Nuwa, you're a saint after all. How dare you bully the weak? Don't you have any shame? A green rainbow suddenly rushed out of Kuan Peng's hand. The Grandmaster of Heaven's Qingping sword burst out with a destructive sword chi and slashed heavily on the mountain river painting. The power that Nuwa used to attack with the mountain river painting was completely destroyed by the Grandmaster of Heaven's sword. Luya, hand over your life. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Kuan Peng waved the He Tu and Luo Shu and slapped the head of Luya, who was being sucked by Sudaji's vitality and spiritual chi. With a bang, his brain burst out. Luya did not even have time to scream before he died instantly. His cultivation had been sucked clean by Sudaiji, leaving only a pile of ashes. Chapter 1356. With Luya's death, Sudaiji's power became stronger. The heaven-devouring demonic technique had a special characteristic. Whoever it swallowed, it would have the power and ability of that person. The vicious great emperor had relied on this technique to dominate an entire era. His might had shaken the ancient times, and no one could stand up to him. At this moment, Su Daiji had turned from an ordinary little fox into a peerless expert with the power of 13 golden immortals. Luya and I are mortal enemies. Although I will offend Yuhua if I kill him, there's nothing I can do. However, Randang and the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void are not people I can kill. If Su Daiji wants to kill them, let her. Kuan Peng was an old fox. How could he not know the temperament of the heavenly lord of primordial beginning? Once he dared to touch Randang and the 12 golden immortals, a Panga banner might fall from the sky. Randang and the 12 golden immortals were from the Jade Void sect and Orthodox Taoism. Their cultivation was purer than Luya's, and their foundation was more solid. However, in the heavenly cycle star formation formed by the heaven-devouring demonic technique, their cultivation was rapidly draining. They could not resist at all. The 3 flowers above their heads dissipated, and the 5 chi in their chests disappeared. The cultivation of Randang and the 12 golden immortals dropped rapidly. The heavenly cycle star formation formed by the heaven-devouring demonic technique was comparable to the primordial chaos golden chalice. Would I tell you that I was the one who did it? Liu smiled. Even if Su Daiji had activated the heaven-devouring demonic skill and evolved the heavenly cycle star formation, and even if she had swallowed the 10 demon generals and the ice dragon toad, it was impossible for her to suppress Daipamkara, a sage to be, along with the 12 golden immortals of the Jade virtual realm and Luya. But who asked her to have the myriad world maul? The life of a cheat was awesome. Big Bossly said, "My surname is Lei. I don't leave my name when I do good deeds." Through Su Daiji's hands, Liu transferred a force through the system through the myriad world maul and gave Su Daiji a buff, increasing her attack power by 10 times. Perfected Yellow Dragon was the first to die. Following closely behind, Perfected Yuding, the immortal of the South Pole, the 12 golden immortals died one after another. Finally, Evildoer, you shall die a horrible death. Burning Lamp cursed with difficulty and fell to the ground. Under the Jade Void sect, from Randang to the 12 golden immortals, all of them died and turned into ashes. They were completely swallowed by Su Daiji. You kill them all? Kuan Peng was so scared that his face turned pale. This was the entire fortune of the primeval Lord of Heaven. They were all destroyed by you just like that. Do you still have a way out? Why didn't the heavenly primogenitor do anything? That was impossible. Something's not right. How could the heavenly Lord of Yuanshi be such a rule-abiding person? If you dare to touch his disciples, I'll send an ancient banner over. Kuan Peng looked at the sky with confusion. He saw 4 beams of sword light shooting up into the sky and covering all directions. All right, immortal slaying sword formation. This was the reason why the primeval Lord of Heaven did not make a move. The immortal slaying sword array could only be broken by the 4 sages. Even if primeval Lord of Heaven and Yuhua joined forces, they would not be able to break the immortal slaying sword formation. With Tong Tian blocking the door, the primeval Lord of Heaven and Yuhua could not make a move. After blocking for a while, Su Daiji killed Randang and the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void under Liu's cheat. Tong Tian, the primeval Lord of Heaven's roar resounded through the clouds and shook the world. The resentment, grievance, depression, and embarrassment in it were simply indescribable. The primeval Lord of Heaven had activated the God-sealing array and let Jiangxia preside over the God-sealing array. He had the home ground advantage. He wanted to ruthlessly trick Tong Tian and send all of his disciples to the God role. However, from the looks of the current situation, Tong Tian did not even lose a single strand of hair, while the primeval Lord of Heaven lost so badly that he even lost his pants. Ha! The 4 immortal vanquishing swords flew through the air and returned to the green touring palace. The Grandmaster of Heaven's laughter made the primeval Lord of Heaven's face swollen. Evil creature, die. The primeval Lord of Heaven had already lost all his face, so he might as well be shameless. The Panga banner shook, and a stream of chaos chi slashed down from the sky towards Su Daiji. Primeval Lord of Heaven, as a saint, How can you be so shameless? The Grandmaster of Heaven was hopping mad. He hurriedly controlled the Qingping sword in the Kuanping's hand to block the primeval Lord of Heaven's Panga banner. Evil creature, how dare you betray us? How dare you disobey us? When the primeval Lord of Heaven made his move, the furious Nuwa also made her move. Nuwa was a woman. To a woman, her breasts were more important than her face. In her anger, Nuwa no longer cared about her face. She wanted to kill this traitor first. Lady Daji, Kong Xian is here to protect you. The Dongwang bell soared into the sky, and its mighty bell chimes resounded through the clouds. A brilliant light shone, and the Dongwang bell emitted endless visions. It hung above Su Daji's head, firmly protecting her within. With a loud clang, heaven and earth shook, and the void trembled. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers were instantly pulverized. After that attack, Su Daji was unharmed. Actually, with Kong Xian's strength, even with the Dongwang bell, he would not be able to block Nuwa's attack. However, it was Li Yu's fault for being able to cheat. The hammer of the Dongwang bell was created by Li Yu. Wasn't it easy to increase the power of the Dongwang bell? Nuwa snorted angrily, and the stately painting shot through the air. Even if they were shameless, it was enough for a saint to make a move once. If they made another move, it would not be shameless, but too shameless. In midair, the Qingping sword and the Panga banner exchanged blows and dispersed. It was as if a battle between saints had ended just like that. In fact, everyone knew that all of this had just begun. The primeval Lord of Heaven, who had lost even his pants, would definitely not let the matter rest. He would definitely contact the Buddhist saints at all costs and do his best to trample Tongtian. To the Buddhist saints, the hollow jade palace was already useless. The Grand Supreme Elder only had Xuandu as his disciple. The 8 immortals of the upper cave had not been born yet. As long as they joined forces with the primeval Lord of Heaven and trampled Tongtian, the Taoist sect. Will there still be a Taoist sect in the future? The primordial world would definitely be our Buddhist kingdom. Amitabha, Zhuani, and even Tathagata were all smiling. They put their palms together and chanted, "Buddha is merciful. This is exactly what I need." Li Yu's eyes flashed. I'll trick the primeval Lord of Heaven right from the start. Let him lose everything and let him erupt with true anger. Let him contact the Buddhist sects and fight with Tongtian until he bleeds. Tongtian would definitely not be able to stop the alliance between the primeval Lord of Heaven and the Buddhist sects. He would definitely continue to rope in allies. Be it Mingyi, Xinyuanzi, Kong Xian, or even the Holy Emperor of the human race in Haoyan, he would find helpers. In the game between the two sides, all the forces in this world would be involved. When you can't leave, Xinyuanzi can go and find the primordial violet vapor. As long as he obtained the primordial violet vapor, Li Yu only needed to comprehend it once. He was very confident that he could deduce the key step of his own primordial violet vapor from the third step of the primordial chaos. As long as Li Yu advanced to the second step of the primordial chaos, these saints would have a good time. Chapter 1357. How could this be? How could this be? GFA, who had the mandate of heaven, thought that as long as he led his troops to the east, he would be able to defeat King Zhou of Shang and ascend the throne. However, Daipamkara and the 12 golden immortals died just like that. At this moment, GFA suddenly felt that the mandate of heaven was no longer reliable. Retreat. Retreat. Daipamkara and the 12 golden immortals were dead. Should they stay here and wait for death? Should they stay here and give their heads to Su Daiji? Su Daiji had already killed a lot of people. If they gave their heads to her, they would be banned. GFA turned around and ran without hesitation. Jiang Zia and Yang Jian were also completely shocked. There was no time to be sad. They had to save their lives first. After releasing the central Wutu apricot yellow flag, Jiang Zia and Yang Jian also turned around and ran. As for the soldiers of Western Zhou, I can't even protect myself. How can I protect you? Yang Jian turned around and flew away with Jiang Zia and GFA. He activated the central Wutu apricot yellow flag and flew all the way back to West Qi. Actually, they were just scaring themselves. Su Daiji had swallowed Daipamkara, a sage-to-be, and 25 golden immortals. She was already full. As for Kuan Peng, he only listened to Tong Tian. Who was King Zhou? What did it have to do with him whether Shang was destroyed or not? After the battle, Kuan Peng turned around and left. Tong Tian would definitely be very satisfied with this victory. He would definitely give some benefits. Kuan Peng quickly returned to the Azure Palace to receive his reward. On Su Daiji's side, she sent troops to subdue the Western Zhou soldiers and recovered the lost land. She also hurriedly returned to Chaoga to deal with the problem of indigestion. King, do you want to become an immortal? If you are full and can't digest, then find someone else to help. Su Daiji returned to Chaoga and poured the power of a golden immortal into King Zhou's body. Boom! Mighty divine light soared into the sky. Ah, my dear, is this the power of an immortal? That's great. King Zhou, who had exchanged for the hegemonic body of the heavens, was not very powerful because he had only cultivated for a short time. At this moment, after Su Daiji poured the power of a golden immortal into him, his divine power suddenly skyrocketed. A golden dragon formed from qi and blood rushed out from the top of King Zhou's head. It was full of dragon qi, and its divine power was unparalleled. The hegemonic body of the heavens had the ability to transform into the body of a divine beast. King Zhou was infused with perfected yellow dragon's power by Su Daiji, pushing him to the gold immortal realm. It's not enough. He had devoured too much. Then, let's give them some more. Su Daiji felt the power in her body increase, but she was still too full. She hurriedly summoned the jade Peepa spirit, the brocade pheasant spirit, and a group of little foxes. Perfected Yuding's power was given to the jade Peepa spirit. Luya's power was given to the pheasant spirit, and the remaining power of the golden immortal was given to the little foxes. After a series of dispatches, including King Zhou, Su Daji's lineup already had 25 golden immortals. Even though it was only the accelerated version, only Daipamkara's sage-to-be power is left. I can digest and absorb it. The demonic heaven-devouring art. Whoever it devoured, it would possess that person's strength. After digesting and absorbing Ronding's cultivation, Su Daiji could also become a quasi-saint. A demi-saint and 25 golden immortals was a formidable force in the Eldritch world. Unfortunately, this world is in the hands of the sage. Everyone below the sage level is nothing but an ant. Not counting the sage, Su Daji's power was enough to dominate the Eldritch world. However, as long as a random sage came, he would be slapped to death by this little bit of power. Su Daiji understood this logic, so she chose to endure. You have to endure, I also need you to endure. Liu used Su Daji's Myriad World Mall to remotely control the system and cover up the secrets of heaven for these newly promoted golden immortals. Although the secrets of heaven were already in chaos, Liu himself had messed up the secrets of heaven. The various sages had also covered up the secrets of heaven, making them even more unpredictable. However, Liu still asked the system to cover up Su Daji's golden immortal subordinates again. That was safer. When the primordial beginning tricked the bald thieves to participate in the battle, they will probably be bald and bleeding when they encounter the extremely powerful Su Daji's lineup, right? The more casualties there were, the deeper the conflict between the sages. They would definitely fight to the death. In this way, the sages had no time. Zhen Yuanzi could take the opportunity to obtain the primordial violet qi. Tong Tian, you actually schemed against me? How dare you kill my disciples? I will never let you go. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. In his opinion, Su Daiji must have killed Randang and the 12 golden immortals of the Jade Void because of Tong Tian. Tong Tian, since you don't care about your brotherhood, don't blame me for joining forces with outsiders to deal with you. He turned around and stepped out of the Jade Void Palace. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning rushed to the west to visit the three Buddhas of the Western sect to discuss the alliance and fight against Tongtian together. The Buddhist sect had originally intended to destroy the Jie school. They hit it off with the heavenly lord of primordial beginning and officially formed an alliance. After the discussion, the Western sect joined the battle. The 8th-division Heavenly Dragon, the Guardian Wisdom King, the Guardian Vajra, and the various Arhats and Bodhisattvas moved out with all their might. They gathered the disciples of the various branches of the Jade Void sect and flew across the sky in a mighty manner, descending into Shichi. Damn it, these bald thieves actually joined the battle. Looking at such a mighty force, Tongtian was enraged. You have people, but does this seat not have people under his tutelage? The Green Turing Palace taught without discrimination, and thousands of immortals came. The disciples of the Tongtian sect were the most numerous among the saints of the primordial world. With an order, all the disciples of the Green Turing Palace rushed to Chaoga and joined Sudaji. This time, Tongtian used all his trump cards. 3 Xiao immortals, Zhao Gongming, the goddess of Turtle Spirit, the goddess of Golden Spirit, the goddess of Wudong, the Black Cloud Immortal, the Long-Eared Dingguang Immortal, the Golden Hooped Immortal, and so on. These top disciples of the Jie school were all sent out by Tongtian. However, the primordial beginning has joined forces with the 3 saints of the Western sect. They're stronger than the Green Turing Palace. Since the primordial beginning has joined forces with outsiders to deal with me, don't blame me for going out to find allies. If the primordial beginning could find the Western sect, Tongtian could only join forces with Hao Yin, Mingyi, Xinyuanzi, the Holy Emperor of the human race, and the others. After a series of alliances, the lineup of the 2 sides had already settled. The primordial beginning, Niuhua, and the 3 saints of the Buddhist sect were considered one side. Tongtian joined forces with Hao Yin, Mingyi, Sudaji, Xinyuanzi, and Kong Xian on the other side. Other than Hong Jun, who had transformed into the heavenly Tao, the elderly lord who stayed in seclusion, and the holy emperor of a human race who remained neutral, the various forces of the world were involved in this war. Dong! 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 The earth-shattering war drums sounded again. King Wu defeated the Zhou dynasty, and the investiture of the gods rose again. This earth-shattering war that swept across the primordial world had begun once again. Kill! The sound of killing shook the sky. The Western Zhou army was no longer a mortal army. The Guardian Wisdom King of the Buddhist sect led the 8 heavenly dragon guardians, as well as the Vajra and Arhat, and became the main force of this war. Niuhua used the demon summoning banner to gather countless demons, including the Bull Demon King and other demon kings, and led their demon soldiers to join the war. The primordial beginning gathered all the subordinate sects of the Jade Void Palace, such as the Kongtong sect, the Kunlun sect, and so on. Fight! Fight! The harder you fight, the better. Liu sat in the encampment of the Green Mountain sect, looking at the crazily surging murderous aura between heaven and earth with a smile on his face. However, I have to join the war too. All the disciples of the 5 villages temple are joining the war. Xinyuanzi, you are so ruthless. Chapter 1358. Xinyuanzi, you're too vicious. Liu, who was planning to watch the show, suddenly received a message from Xinyuanzi, asking him to rush to Chaoga and gather the 48 true disciples of the 5-village temple to participate in the God Conferment War. Liu then remembered that he was still Xinyuanzi's disciple. It's normal for Xinyuanzi to participate in the battle. It's too eye-catching if he doesn't. Liu could completely understand why Xinyuanzi chose to participate in the battle and join the Heavenly Alliance. Xinyuanzi's goal had always been Hong Yun's relic. Participating in the battle was not his goal at all. Xinyuanzi did not care about the outcome of the God Conferment War at all. Sending his disciples to participate in the battle was a pretense. It was to show the saints that he was also involved and did not hide at the side to have any evil ideas. In fact, the disciples sent by Xuanyuanzi have already been abandoned by him. Li Yu understood Xuanyuanzi's plan very well. He wanted his disciples to participate in the battle, take the initiative, and fight desperately for the righteous cause of their allies. Then, at the critical moment of the God-confirmant war, when the saints personally participated, he would leave to find the primordial violet vapor. As for these disciples, he had already abandoned them. Your choice is in I's interest. It was also Li Yu's plan to make the God-confirmant war even more tragic and let the saints participate in the battle. I will personally participate in the battle. There will definitely be heavy casualties. Li Yu smiled and put away the communication jade slip. He leaped up and rode a streak of light toward Chaoga. A few days later, Li Yu arrived at Chaoga and met with the disciples of the Five-Village Temple. Junior brother, you came at the right time. Today, King Zhou is hosting a banquet at Deer Terrace Pavilion. Qian Yuanzi saw Li Yu arrive and greeted him with a smile. King Zhou is hosting a banquet? The war is about to start. Why is there a banquet now? Li Yu frowned slightly, as if he was very dissatisfied with King Zhou's performance. Junior brother, you don't know. Qian Yuanzi pretended to be mysterious and said, "This banquet is not for drinking." Goddess Daji joined forces with Kuan Peng to kill Randang, Luya, and the 12 Jade Void Golden Immortals. The magical treasures of these people are the highlight of this banquet. I see. A glimmer of light flashed across Li Yu's eyes. He seemed to be very interested, but he was laughing in his heart. Su Daji, you're trying to drag everyone down with you. At night, the Deer Terrace Pavilion, which towered into the clouds, was brightly illuminated by the resplendent pearls. Immortals, please take your seats. Beams of light tore through the sky, and auspicious clouds flew over. Immortals and gods from all over the world landed on the Deer Terrace Pavilion and took their seats under the guidance of the maidservants. When my Shang dynasty was in danger, I was overjoyed to have all of you help me. I'm extremely grateful. Everyone, please drink this cup. King Zhou raised his wine bottle and toasted the immortals and gods with Su Daji. My king and Lady Daji, you're too kind. All the immortals and deities raised their cups and drank. The immortals naturally did not take King Zhou seriously. However, there was Su Daji, who had destroyed the entire Jade Void Palace. They could not disrespect her. The logic of the cultivation world was very simple. Whoever had the hardest fist was right. Even the immortals under the heavenly sect could not help but admire Su Daji's shocking battle achievements. After 3 rounds of wine, the main event began. Immortals, you helped me, but I don't have anything to thank you with. Fortunately, my beloved consort obtained some spoils of war a few days ago. I can give them to all of you to express my gratitude. King Zhou waved his hand. A group of fox spirits that had transformed into human forms carried Dharma treasures and placed them on the stage. Ronding's spirit coffin lamp, Guang Chengzi's heaven overturning seal, Qi Jing's yin-yang mirror, and so on. On the high platform were the Dharma treasures of Randang and the 12 Jade Void Golden Immortals. If any immortal is interested in these things, you can choose one. King Zhou looked forthright, as if he was purely giving the treasures to everyone as a reward. However, which of the immortals present was not an old monster? How could they not see the danger? How could a brainless person live until now? After King Zhou finished speaking, there was dead silence. No one made a sound or moved. These were not only treasures, but also ferocious items. These items came from the Jade Void Palace and were snatched by Su Daji after she killed them. Imagine if anyone used these Dharma treasures in the upcoming battle, it would be equivalent to slapping the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning in the face. Even if the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning held back and did not attack, the cultivators with these Dharma treasures would definitely become a thorn in the eyes of everyone in the Jade Void Palace. They would definitely be killed quickly. Moreover, with such treasures in hand, the Darn Baldies of the Buddhist sect would definitely kill and snatch the treasures. The treasures of his allies had fallen into the hands of thieves. He had to take them back for his allies. He was duty-bound. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning had a favor to ask of the Western sect. The darn baldies of the Buddhist sect snatched these treasures and used them without any psychological pressure. Therefore, in conclusion, these treasures had a curse attribute of whoever took them would die. However, if he did not take them, Sudaji did not release these things to show off. This was a proof of allegiance. Accepting a Dharma treasure was equivalent to breaking off ties with the Jade Void Palace. It was equivalent to expressing his attitude and firming up his stance. The people of the Tongtian sect naturally did not need to express their stance. Sudaji would not force them to express their stance. But what about the other factions? The people of Mingyi, Haoyan, Xinyuanzi, and Kongxian did not express their attitudes, firm their stance, or hand over their allegiance. It would be difficult to explain this matter. You said that you are here to help, but you don't want to break ties with the heavenly lord of primordial beginning. How can I believe you? How can I be at ease that you won't change sides and attack? Sudaji was a quasi-saint. Sudaji had destroyed the entire Jade Void Palace. This kind of monstrous ferocious might was very intimidating. Haha, that's great. I happen to lack treasures. At that moment, a loud laugh broke the silence. A young man in a green robe stood up with a smile and cupped his hands towards King Zhou and Sudaji. Thank you, Your Majesty and Goddess Daji, for your generous gift. The person who stood up was naturally Liu. To be honest, Liu's disguise really did not have any treasures in his hands. The magic treasures of the 12 golden immortals were all divine items that were second only to innate spiritual treasures. Liu just needed to use something as a pretense. Fortunately, in the war, he could openly kill everyone and make both sides suffer heavy losses. Naturally, he would not give up such a treasure. So it's Wu Zhuangguan, Li. Seeing Liu stand up, the cold light in Sudaji's eyes dissipated a little. A smile appeared on her bright face. Li, please choose your magic treasure. The flipping sky seal is not bad. I'll use it. Liu chuckled. He reached out and grabbed a pitch-black seal in his hand. Damn it, where did this hothead come from? Even if you want to die, don't get us into trouble. Liu took the magic treasure. It could be considered that he represented the Wu Zhuangguan to express their stance and hand over their allegiance. In this way, the other forces had no choice but to express their stance as well. Resentful gazes were cast towards Liu. Cold, murderous intent and endless resentment were all in their eyes. Resentment? You want to kill me? Hee, that's exactly what I want you to do. Otherwise, how can I kill all of you in broad daylight? His Majesty Emperor, you had always insisted on the theory of balance. Both sides in a war must have equal strength. Only then could they fight for a long time and be ruthless. After screwing over the upper side, they would screw over the lower side. Big Boss Li was a man of principles. Chapter 1359. The banquet was over. Liu received a bunch of hateful gazes and left amidst the resentful curses of the crowd. Even his fellow disciples of the 5 Villages Temple distanced themselves from him, fearing that they would be implicated if they got too close to him. Liu was naturally happy to have some peace and quiet. Anyway, these people would not be left alive. Why should he care about them? Just like that, he stayed in Chaoga quietly for a month. Immortals, the rebels of Western Zhou are here. Please come out and fight. On this day, Western Zhou was here. The immortals who stayed in Chaoga had to go out and fight. The immortals soared into the sky and flew in the direction of the 3 Mountains Pass. Junior brother, it's time to go to the battlefield. Try not to use your sky flipping seal if you can. Qian Yuanzi looked at Liu with a complicated expression and reminded him. Thank you for the reminder, senior brother. Liu cupped his hands and thanked him. Then he soared into the sky and rushed to the 3 Mountains Pass with the others. Soon, they arrived at the 3 Mountains Pass. At this moment, the 3 Mountains Pass was still guarded by Kongxian. However, the mortal soldiers from before had been replaced by an army of low-level cultivators. It was originally a change of dynasty between mortals, but now it had become a battle between immortals and cultivators. Boom! In the distant sky, a dazzling light covered the sky and earth. The Buddhist light, immortal clouds, and demonic aura complemented each other. The Buddhist soldiers from the Western sect, the cultivators of the primeval Lord of Heaven, and the demon soldiers of Nuwa formed military formations and came in a mighty manner. Their aura surged and shook the world. As the military formations rushed over, it was as if the void was about to be crushed by the monstrous aura. The rebels are here. Prepare for battle. Kong Xian soared into the sky, and a five-colored light shot into the sky. Formation. The cultivators of various forces formed a large formation according to their origins and guarded the Three Mountains Pass. The large formation set up under the Five Villages Temple rushed up the shadow of a huge ginseng fruit tree. A monstrous sea of blood appeared under the Styx Gate. The dragon race army of the Four Seas turned into a vast ocean. The auras of the military formations surged to the sky as they fought against the incoming Buddhist soldiers, demon soldiers, and cultivators. Kill. In a battle between cultivator armies, there was no need for idle chatter. As soon as the two sides met, they immediately began to fight. Divine abilities and spells covered the sky and covered the earth like a rainstorm, densely packed. The two armies clashed back and forth, causing rivers of blood to flow. Soldier against soldier, general against general. These ordinary cultivators were fighting fiercely, but the key to victory was the confrontation between the higher-level forces. Amipa, fellow Taoist Kong Xian, as a descendant of the Phoenix, why don't you know about fate? You must know that replacing Shang with Zhou is the will of the heavens. Xidagarba sat on the back of Truth Listener and roared at Kong Xian. I hate baldies like you the most. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Why are you talking about heaven's will? Kong Xian roared, and the five-colored brilliance soared into the sky, fiercely brushing towards Xidagarba. Amipa. Buddhist light filled the sky, and a 12-layered golden lotus of merit suddenly appeared under Xidagarba's feet. The five-color divine light brushed against everything. However, merit was not part of the five elements. Kong Xian's attack could not shake the defense of the golden lotus of merit. Golden lotus of merit? Jia-in gave you such a treasure? The golden lotus of merit was Amitba's ultimate treasure. Now, for this battle, Amitba had actually released the virtuous golden lotus. With such a huge investment, his goal was even greater. Kong Xian and Xidagarba fought back and forth, but it was difficult to determine the victor. In this battle, there were only a few underlings under the primeval beginning sect. Apart from Yang Jian, it was difficult for anyone to take on the responsibility. Nuwa had sent out a few golden immortals, such as Shangliu, Nine Phoenix, and Halcyon. However, the Buddhist lineup was stronger. Medicine Buddha, Mithya, Treasure Light Buddha, Worldly Freedom Lord Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, Mahastamaprapta Bodhisattva, Xidagarba Bodhisattva, Kasyapa, Ananda, and Golden Cicada. The five Buddhas were quasi-saints, and so was Xidagarba. In this way, the six quasi-saints of the Buddhists and a group of golden immortals were extremely powerful. Apart from that, Yang Jian had taken the primeval Lord of Heaven's three treasures Jade Rui, and Nine Phoenix had Nuwas Mountain River map. They were also very terrifying. Tongtian's lineup was not bad either. Kong Xian, Mingyi, Kuanpeng, Su Daiji, Zenyuanzi, and Hao Yan also had six quasi-saints. Cloud Sky led the various golden immortals and joined forces with Yang Jian, Kasyapa, and the others. The quasi-saints and golden immortals fought in midair, while the Tai true immortals led the battle formation and fought endlessly. Battle cries shook the sky, and blood flowed like a river. The fighting below is fierce, but the guys above are not fighting seriously. This won't do. Liu took time to glance at the battle in midair and was very dissatisfied. Apart from Yang Jian, who was in a frenzy and attacking with all his might, the others were not really fighting to the death. Then give Mingyi a buff. When Mingyi, snatched the first fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. Liu had already placed a blank system on him. This was the perfect time for Mingi to show his prowess. Medicine Buddha, take this! Mingi was fighting with the Medicine Buddha. Although the fight was fierce, both sides seemed to have a tacit understanding. After all, this was not their battle, and they had no intention of fighting to the death. The Yuan-Tu sword and Avicii swords pierced through the air, releasing a monstrous aura. The ink-black sword light was like two black dragons, twisting toward the Medicine Buddha's head. This attack looked ferocious, but it did not have the power to kill. The Medicine Buddha, who had a tacit understanding, released a string of glass prayer beads. The Buddhist light was like a veil, blocking the Yuan-Tu sword and Avicii swords. Clang! The sword light hit the veil formed by the prayer beads, producing a clear ring. When their powers collided, Medicine Buddha could clearly sense that Mingi's sword was not very powerful. The glass beads could easily block it. However, boom! The moment the sword light hit the veil and was about to change its attack, Mingi's Yuan-Tu sword and Avicii swords suddenly released a violent and boundless power. Ferocity, ruthlessness, blood filled the air. It was as if all the filth, evil, and sin in the world had erupted at this moment. This was exactly the same power as Mingi's. If the Medicine Buddha only had time to show a shocked and confused look before he was drowned by this boundless power. What happened to the fake fight? Where was the trust between people? Caught off guard, the Yuan-Tu sword and Avicii swords cut through the Medicine Buddha's golden body. The extreme evil and filth of the endless sea of blood violently erupted in the Medicine Buddha's golden body. In just an instant, the golden body was tainted, the Sarira was tainted, and the true spirit was tainted. The Vaidya Nirbhasa of the East, the Medicine Buddha, was destroyed by Mingi's sword. Ah, the Medicine Buddha! Mingi, how dare you be so vicious? Seeing this scene, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Buddhist sect were shocked and angry. Mingi was dumbfounded. If I say I didn't do it on purpose, would you believe me? I just casually slashed. I didn't know he was so weak. Bah, this demon is rampant. This poor monk must subdue the demon. With the death of the Medicine Buddha, the fake fight became a real fight. The eyes of the Buddhist sect's darn baldies turned red. They completely let go of their limbs and fought to the death. Damn it! Mingi, are you out of your mind? How many benefits did Skirich give you for you to work so hard for him? The demi-saints of Skirich's lineup all glared at Mingi. Mingi panicked. He wondered if the Medicine Buddha was deliberately sending himself to his death to set him up. What kind of grudge do I have against you? You deliberately sent yourself to your death to set me up. Chapter 1360. After killing the Medicine Buddha, the battle between the demi-saints turned into a bloody one. The people of the Western sect, who were bent on revenge, went crazy and attacked the demi-saints of Tongtian. As the demi-saints exploded, the battle between the armies below became more intense. The situation became more and more dangerous. The Tai true immortals in charge of the armies found it harder to deal with the situation. Damn it! Some of the Tai true immortals in charge of the armies could not withstand the enemy's fierce attacks. Therefore, the cultivators who received the treasures from King Zhou had to show their magic treasures. Showing the magic treasures of the Jade Virtual Palace was a slap to the primeval Lord of Heaven's face and would cause endless trouble. But he had to be alive for future troubles to arise. If it did not show it, they would die immediately. There was no need to use the word trouble. Flipping Sky Seal. Just as these cultivators were considering showing their magic treasures of the Jade Virtual Palace, a loud noise came from one of the armies of the 5 Villages Temple. A huge, black seal shot into the sky, bursting with light. It turned into a colossal mountain that blotted out the sun, smashing heavily into the formation of the 8 generals of the heavenly dragons up ahead. Under the attack, an Arhut who was in charge of the formation and tens of thousands of 8 deities dragon generals were smashed into ashes. Flipping sky seal? Damn it! Seeing the powerful flipping sky seal, the disciples of the Jade Virtual Palace flushed, and their eyes were bloodshot. As soon as the seal appeared, everyone in the Jade Void sect hated Liu to the point that they would not rest until Liu was dead. More importantly, the 3 gems Rui's scepter in Yang Jian's hand was clearly emitting a tremendous and terrifying anger. Are you angry, Primeval Lord of Heaven? Hee. I want you to be angry. I want you to attack. If you don't attack first, the other sages will not come personally. By angering Primeval Lord of Heaven and getting him to kill some of the Tongtian army, or even the 3 sky fairies, which was in line with the original plot, Tongtian would go crazy. When Tongtian went crazy, he would release the immortal slaying sword formation. Then, only the 4 sages could break it, and the other sages would have to show up. In this way, the opportunity that Liu bought for Xinyuanzi had arrived. Coffin lantern, yin yang mirror, pure jade bottle, yin and yang sword. It seemed that Liu had taken the lead to demonstrate. After Liu used the flipping sky seal, the other cultivators who had obtained jade virtual magic treasures also released their magic treasures and supernatural powers. At that moment, it was as though Taoist Randang and the 12 Jade Void Golden Immortals had reappeared in the world. The powerful Dharma treasures burst out with endless light and swept toward Wudi. However, these magic treasures were being used by the enemy. The coffin lamp burned a large number of disciples of the Jade Void sect to death. The yin-yang mirror wiped out a group of demon soldiers and demon generals, and the Jade Pure Vase subdued a group of 8 divine generals, as expected of a Jade Void stage magic treasure. Its might was overwhelming. I'll go. Suddenly, Liu, who thought his scheme had succeeded, suddenly noticed that a strand of chaotic chi had actually appeared in the sky. The Primeval Lord of Heaven had made his move. Moreover, the targets of the attacks were the Grand Unity True Immortals who had taken out their Jade Void treasures. Holy *T. The Primeval Lord of Heaven is attacking these small fries? At this moment, the Primeval Lord of Heaven's bottom line had once again reached a new low. Liu almost blurted out bullshit. As a sage, attacking a sage or a golden immortal was considered bullying the weak. Now, the Primeval Lord of Heaven had actually skipped 3 levels and attacked the small fries of the Grand Unity True Immortals. This was completely beyond Liu's expectations. In Liu's plan, shouldn't the Primeval Lord of Heaven first kill a few demi-sages and a few golden immortals with a slap? Finding small fries of the Grand Unity True Immortals to vent his anger. Wasn't this a little too much? Liu's original plan was to personally bait and kill some cultivators who were hostile to him. He didn't expect the Primeval Lord of Heaven to take on all the work directly. You can do it if you want. I don't have to do it myself. Although Liu's current identity was also under the Primeval Lord of Heaven's dimensional reduction attack, Liu didn't care. It wasn't as if he couldn't deal with it. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion exploded in the void. It was like the beginning of the chaos, like the creation of heaven and earth. A flag that blotted out the sky swayed in the void. A stream of chaotic energy annihilated time and space, matter and energy, order and law. Everyone was dumbfounded. This stream of chaotic energy suddenly slashed toward the Grand Unity True Immortals who had just revealed their Jade virtual treasures. With just a sweep, the figures were instantly annihilated. From the timeline, from karma and fate, from matter and order, all traces of these people's existence were erased. They were completely and utterly dead. Not only that, the Pango flag didn't stop after it succeeded in its attack. Not only did this attack annihilate the cultivators who held Jade Mirage magic treasures, it also swept through the entire army of the Heavenly Master Formation. Rumble! The attack of the Pangu flag directly wiped out the cultivator alliance formed by the Azure Palace, Fifth Manor, Northern Underworld Water Demons, Nether River Azura, and the Dragon Tribe of the Four Seas. With the strength of a sage, attacking the miscellaneous soldiers was simply like a top boss rushing into the novice village. Everything was wiped out. Liu. Oh, it was Liu. Liu's disguise was also finished. The moment the Pangu flag slashed down, Liu took off his disguise and quietly escaped. Under the Pangu flag, his disguise was also reduced to ashes. Everything that needed to be set up had been set up. They just had to wait and watch the show. Although this disguise was taken off too quickly and wasn't in Liu's plan, it didn't affect the overall situation. Moreover, who the hell knew that the primordial beginning was so shameless? As a sage, he actually attacked the miscellaneous people directly. The primordial beginning, who had lost, no longer cared about the rules. Boom! At the same time as the Pango flag slashed down, the Trijade Rui in Yang Jian's hand also erupted with monstrous divine power. All of you must die. Yang Jian raised the Jade Rui high. He completely disregarded his life and death and ignored the attacks of others. He charged into the battle line of the Golden Immortals. The Trijade Rui suddenly erupted with the might of a sage. The Trijade Rui was the treasure of the primordial beginning. Just like the Qingping sword of Tong Tian, it also had the might of a sage. Moreover, this wasn't an ordinary attack, but self-destruction. To avenge his master. To avenge his master. Yang Jian had long disregarded life and death. He had long disregarded his own life. In order to take revenge, the ancestral master, a sage, did not hesitate to give up his dignity and face. What else can I give up? Boom! The sky collapsed, and the earth caved in, destroying the world. The Trijade Rui, the treasure of the primordial beginning, suddenly self-destructed. Although the treasure of a sage was not a connate numinous treasure, it also had the power of chaos. The self-destruction of the Trijade Rui was a complete destruction of the chaos. Violent chaotic turbulence swept out, obliterating space-time, obliterating matter, obliterating energy, obliterating order, obliterating laws. Everything was annihilated. Yang Jian was naturally gone. However, everyone around Yang Jian, the Golden Immortals of Green Touring Palace, Nether River, Xinyuanzi, and the Dragon Kings of the Four Seas were all killed. Under this attack, all of them were completely and utterly dead. Not even a speck of dust was left. A shameless person was invincible in the world. At this moment, even Liu was stunned. Holy shit, he's playing so big. Chapter 1361. Primeval Lord of Heaven. Tong Tian's enraged roar shook the universe, and the destructive immortal-slaying sword Qi soared into the sky. His fury had broken through the sky. Tong Tian knew that Primeval Lord of Heaven was shameless, but he did not expect him to be this shameless. It was already shameless of you to beat up the other person's son in a fight between two adults. But not only did you beat up the other person's son, you even slapped the baby lying in the cradle. That was too shameless. Even Liu did not expect that the Primeval Lord of Heaven would attack a small fry, let alone Tong Tian. Therefore, the Primeval Lord of Heaven's attack wiped out Tong Tian's army. Then, after borrowing Yang Jian's power, he blew up the Trijade Rui and wiped out all the Golden Immortals in Tong Tian's army. At this point, Tong Tian's army was completely wiped out. Only Kong Xian, Su Daji, Jin Yuanzi, Mingyi, Kuan Peng, and Hao Tian were left. Moreover, these demi-saints were also generals without an army. All of their disciples were reduced to ashes by the Primeval Lord of Heaven's attack. What the hell? Terrorist attacks are indeed the most lethal skill. Liu took off his vest and quietly watched from the side. Liu could only express his admiration for the Primeval Lord of Heaven's madness. The Primeval Lord of Heaven's move was more effective than Liu's balancing tactic. Although the fight was a little short, but the effect was at its peak. After being hit by the Primeval Lord of Heaven, Tong Tian's chrysanthemum was bleeding, and he had completely transformed into his final boss form. Boom! For streaks of sword light pierced through the sky like pillars that supported the heavens. A huge array diagram covered the sky and covered the earth. Doomsday End, Annihilation. In his berserk state, Tong Tian laid out the immortal slaying sword formation. Kill, 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 kill. The sword lights that brought about doomsday and swept out in all directions like a raging tide. I've already wiped out my sect, and you still want to live well? You can attack my disciples, you can attack the small fries, but you think I can't do the same? The four immortal slaying swords swept across the world. The overwhelming destructive sword light wiped out the allied forces of the Buddhists, the demon race, and the primeval Lord of Heaven. Doomsday had arrived. First, the army of the Buddhist League was reduced to ashes. Then, the remnants of the primeval Lord of Heaven were reduced to ashes. Finally, the demon soldiers and demon generals of Nuwa were reduced to ashes. Except for the nine-headed phoenix, who was protected by Goddess Nviwa's map of mountains and rivers, and Ksitigarbha, who was protected by the golden lotus of merit, the others were all dead. Tong Tian, Buddha, F*CKU. Just as he was shocked by Primeval's generosity, before he could recover from the shock, Tong Tian came up with an even more ferocious move. In the entire Buddhist sect, from a miscellaneous soldiers to the bodhisattvas and Buddhas, only Ksitigarbha was left. Nviwa only left 9 phoenix behind. Yuanshur was even more miserable. Just like Tong Tian, his entire family was wiped out. Seeing this situation, even Buddha was furious. Jin, Junti, Tathagata, Nuwa, and Primordial Beginning also went berserk. Come on, let's hurt each other. Anyway, the disciples of the righteous sect were all dead. So what if they destroyed this world? A group of sages formed a team and planned to kill Tong Tian's big boss. The immortal slaying sword formation could only be broken by the 4 sages. Now, there were already 5 sages. However, Tong Tian did not use the immortal slaying sword formation to trap people. He completely integrated the immortal slaying sword formation with himself, turning into an infinite sword storm. One person fighting against 5 sages, Tong Tian is powerful. Li Yu's face was full of admiration. The sages fought fiercely, causing the sky to fall and the earth to crack. Hong Jun, who was one with the heavenly Tao, was already dumbfounded. I am a heavenly Tao. If you destroy the world, how can I, the heavenly Tao, survive? However, Hong Jun had no way to solve the current situation. He could only call out the Grand Supreme, who had been in seclusion. The two joined forces and struggled to maintain this world so that it would not be destroyed by the battle of the sages. Okay, now the sages can't do anything. How could Xinyuanzi not seize such a good opportunity? Li Yu sat and waited for Xinyuanzi to counterattack. Fellow Taoist Kong Xian. At this time, Xinyuanzi gave Kong Xian a look. I know, Kong Xian also knew that the time had come. How could he not know how to act according to the situation? Clang! The mighty sound of the bell rang through the sky. When Mingyi, Kuan Peng, Hao Tian, Su Daiji, and the rest were shocked by the sudden change, Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian made their move. The Dongwang bell suddenly exploded, and the power to seal time and space instantly exploded. Mingyi, Kuan Peng, Hao Tian, and Su Daiji were all hit at the same time. Dying. The earth book and the ginseng fruit tree rushed out together and smashed at the few people who were imprisoned by the Dongwang bell. Great 5 elements, magnetism, annihilation, divine light. At the same time, Kong Xian also unleashed his strongest power and slashed at the few people who were imprisoned by the Dongwang bell. Fellow Taoists, your business has nothing to do with me. The moment the Dongwang bell rushed out, Su Daiji did not seem to be affected at all. A huge force burst out from her body and slapped Hao Tian's head. Of course, this was all thanks to His Majesty Emperor Yu. The hammer of the Dongwang bell was made by Li Yu. If Li Yu said that it could not attack Su Daiji, it naturally could not attack Su Daiji. The vixen was still useful, and it could not be wasted here. Boom! Hao Tian was imprisoned by the Dongwang bell for a moment and could not resist at all. She was destroyed and devoured by Su Daiji just like that. Then, Su Daiji broke free from the Dongwang bell's imprisonment and showed her attitude to the two of them. She turned and left, rushing to Chaoga. Kong Xian's annihilation divine light hit Kuan Peng, and Xinyuanzi's earth book and ginseng fruit tree hit Mingi. Mingi and Kuan Peng died instantly, and their true spirits were destroyed. They were completely dead. Su Daiji, Kong Xian turned and looked in the direction that Su Daiji left and frowned. Don't bother about her. Who knew how long the sages would fight? It would be stupid not to take the opportunity to retrieve Hongyun's relics and go after Su Daiji. Without hesitation, Xinyuanzi flew into the sky and rushed to his destination. This is the ruins of Mount Buzhou. Breaking through the void, Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian quickly arrived at their destination, the collapsed Mount Buzhou. It is Mount Buzhou. Xinyuanzi nodded and rushed to a dead valley in the ruins of Mount Buzhou, according to his memory. Back then, Brother Hongyun and I stopped here. He told me that he was born here. Xinyuanzi already understood that following Hongyun's footsteps was the place where they stopped back then. Hongyun's relics were in this place. There's nothing here. Kong Xian looked around and saw nothing but dead silence. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Brother Hongyun left his things for me, so I'll definitely find them. Xinyuanzi released the ginseng fruit tree and the earth book. One green and one yellow. 2 rays of light covered the entire valley. Ah, junior brother Xinyuanzi, you came in the end. Under a cliff at the bottom of the valley, a wisp of red cloud floated up and a door slowly opened. There was no earth-shattering sound, no phenomenon that illuminated the world. It was as if it was an ordinary cave. However, the greatest secret of the primordial world was hidden here. Chapter 1362. So it's at Mount Buzhou? Liu nodded with a smile when he saw Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian arrive at Mount Buzhou. Both of them had been tampered with by Liu. No matter what they got from the Red Cloud Manor, it would ultimately belong to Big Boss Li. As the mastermind behind the scenes, he only needed to wait for the harvest. Mount Buzhou ruins. Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian stepped into the Red Cloud Manor together. There's nothing here. Stepping into the cave, Kong Xian found that it was a very simple cave. Apart from an empty house, there was nothing else. No, it's here. Stepping into the cave, Xinyuanzi also looked around. He didn't find anything, but he believed in Red Cloud. He believed that Red Cloud must have left something behind. Brother Red Cloud, I don't know what you left here, and I don't know what the secret of heaven and earth you're talking about is, but no matter what it is, I'm prepared. Releasing the ginseng fruit tree and the earth book, Xinyuanzi bowed towards the cave. Brother Red Cloud, no matter what secret you found, please tell me. Buzz, after Xinyuanzi bowed, a formless, indescribable aura suddenly appeared in this simple cave. It seemed to exist, yet it didn't seem to exist at the same time. This was the primordial violet vapor. My name is Red Cloud, the first cloud born at the beginning of heaven and earth. I was lucky enough to obtain the primordial violet vapor. This thing is mysterious and unpredictable, as if it contains all the principles of heaven and earth. I comprehended the primordial violet vapor, and my cultivation advanced all the way to the peak of the sage to be only one step away from becoming a saint. However, the moment I was about to merge with the primordial violet vapor and become a saint, I discovered a huge secret was hidden in the primordial violet vapor. The primordial violet vapor is the foundation of becoming a saint, but it's also a peerless evil. I saw the true face of a saint. I knew that I was going to die. Therefore, I left a message here. Junior brother Jin Yuan, I thought about telling you this, but I also know that once I tell you, you'll definitely die. I don't know if the person who came here is junior brother Jin Yuan. Those who come later, no matter who you are, remember my words. Don't use the primordial violet vapor to become a saint. As for the truth, I don't know if I should say it. I only have one thing to say. The sage is no longer human. The sage is already dead. At this point, the message left behind by the red cloud disappeared without a trace. Only a formless primordial violet chi enveloped the entire space. The primordial violet vapor is a peerless great calamity. The sage is not human. The sage is dead. What does that mean? Hong Yun is about to become a saint? At the crucial moment, he saw the truth and retreated. In the cave residence, Xinyuanzi and Kong Xian looked at each other. What Hong Yun said must be true. He had used his own death to prove all of this. He had seen the truth, so he had been silenced. He did not tell the truth. He only said vaguely, "The sage is no longer human. The sage is already dead." Zhen Yuanzi and Kong Xian were both quasi-saints, so they naturally knew the reason. The saints controlled the world. In this world, everyone was under the control of the saints. The secrets of the saints were naturally the main focus of the saints. As long as someone revealed the secrets of the saints, it would definitely attract the attention of the saints. One could imagine the consequences. The truth of the saints? The primordial violet vapor is a peerless great calamity. The sage is no longer human. The sage is already dead. Li Yu also saw everything in the cave residence and heard the message left by the red cloud. I hate this kind of deliberately mystifying people the most. If you have something to say, why don't you just say it directly? Why are you playing guessing games? Li Yu frowned and complained. Of course, he also knew that the red cloud had no choice. The red cloud did not know that the primordial violet vapor could completely conceal the senses of the saints. Of course, he did not dare to tell the truth. The sage is no longer human. The sage is already dead. From what I understand, the red cloud is saying that the saints now are no longer human. I don't know what they are. The original saints are actually all dead? Li Yu knew very well that this eldritch world was not ordinary. This eldritch world was inside the Pearl of Origin. Moreover, this eldritch world saint, Hong Jun, was at the same level as the other saints. Furthermore, Tethegata was also a saint. The primordial violet vapor is a peerless great calamity. The red cloud discovered the truth when he was about to become a saint. It seems that I have to get the primordial violet vapor first. Of course, since it was a peerless great calamity, Li Yu did not have to do it himself, even though he did not fully believe it. He could just let Xinyuanzi and the rest take the risk. Taoist Kong Xian, do you want the primordial violet vapor? Xinyuanzi turned to Kong Xian and asked with a serious face. After the joint battle, it was time to distribute the spoils. It was also the time when the alliance agreement was at its weakest. The primordial violet vapor. Kong Xian felt a strange aura shrouding the cave residence. Vaguely, he felt a warning from the Dongwang bell. It seemed to make him shudder with fear. Is it really dangerous? Kong Xian let out a long breath. He had made up his mind. Taoist Xinyuanzi, I don't want the primordial violet vapor. Goodbye. With that, Kong Xian turned and walked out of the cave, breaking through the air. Kong Xian doesn't want it, but I can't. Xinyuanzi naturally knew that the red cloud would not lie to him. If he said it was a peerless great calamity, it must be a peerless great calamity. But, Brother Hong Yun, if I don't become a saint, how can I avenge you? Absorb. Xinyuanzi reached out and grabbed. A huge force swept across the cave residence, crazily absorbing the strange aura in the cave residence. However, no matter how hard Xinyuanzi tried, he could not touch the aura at all. Dong! Suddenly, a red light rushed out of Xinyuanzi's sleeve. A fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd that was stored in his sleeve suddenly rushed out of his sleeve and floated in the air. Buzz! With a slight buzz, the fragment of the gourd shook slightly. An invisible force rippled out, as if it had a connection with the strange aura in the cave residence. Whoosh! As if a gust of wind had swept past, the strange aura in the air rushed into the fragment of the soul-dispersing gourd. Brother Hong Yun's gourd fragment? I see. Wasn't it normal for the fragment of the gourd to absorb the primordial violet vapor left by Hong Yun? Unfortunately, Xinyuanzi would never have guessed that the fragment of the gourd was made by Li Yu. This is the primordial violet vapor? Taking the fragment of the gourd was actually taking it into the system's vault. In fact, the primordial violet vapor had fallen into Li Yu's hands. What's the secret about it? What's so dangerous about it? Liu had gotten the primordial violet vapor, but he did not touch it. Hongyun's tragedy was right in front of him. If he did not know the truth, he would be foolishly and boldly trying to get the opportunity, which would be a trap for others. Origin of chaos found. Do you want to retrieve it? At this time, Liu suddenly heard the system's beep. Origin of chaos? What's going on? The system is the proof of chaos, and the primordial violet vapor is the origin of chaos? I'm a son of chaos. What the hell is this setting? Chapter 1363. The primordial violet vapor had become the source of chaos. Liu had long known that the primeval world in the Pearl of Origin wasn't that simple. Now that he heard the system notification sound, it was even more confirmed. Can a system recycle the primordial violet vapor? Then recycle it. At his command, the primordial violet vapor stored in the soul-dispersing gourd fragment was instantly absorbed by the system. Plane locator found. Plane locator? Similar to the locator that transmigrated to the outside world like me? Liu froze for a moment, but soon had a guess. The saints are not human. They are dead. Haha. Now, there's another plane locator. Obviously, these saints have been descended before. The unparalleled ferocious beast that Red Cloud mentioned was the positioning marker of this plane. According to Li Yu's speculation, the saints had merged with the primordial violet vapor to become saints, and then someone had followed the plane locator and descended to this world to seize the saint's body. Becoming a saint meant that someone had descended. No wonder the saints were not human. No wonder the saints were dead. And no wonder Hongyun had died. I remember that the celestial emperor of Taishan once said that he was the ruler of the outer world. If there is an outer world, there must be a middle world, an inner world, and so on. Liu was almost certain that these saints in the primeval world must be the celestial emperor of Taishan and the others who had descended to this world and transformed into saints. 8 saints. Could there be 8 existences similar to the celestial emperor of Taishan, including Hongyun? There should be 9 celestial emperors. Why? Hongyun wasn't descended successfully? Instead, she was killed? Liu had already understood the true nature of these saints. These saints must be people like the celestial emperor of Taishan. So, the celestial emperor of Taishan is also in the primeval world? Who did he transform into? Back then, the celestial emperor of Taishan had planned to possess Liu, the son of chaos, and then open the land of origin. Liu had used the system to kill an avatar of the celestial emperor of Taishan. According to this pattern, these saints who have been descended are actually the avatars of the celestial emperors. Back in the day, celestial emperor Taishan had wanted to kill Liu and possess the son of chaos. Since these saints were on the same side as celestial emperor Taishan, they must be Liu's enemies as well. It's just that, since these saints have been descended a long time ago, it's only natural that they'd be able to descend. Why are you still playing the investiture of the gods game in the primordial world? This was very strange. Could it be that there is something in the primordial world that is worth fighting for? Liu shook his head, tossed this question aside, and placed his attention on the primordial violet chi. If I want to reach the second step of primordial chaos, I'll have to gain insight into the primordial violet chi. During this period of time, Liu had been looking for an opportunity to break through. Unfortunately, he had been stuck at a bottleneck and was unable to break through. Now, the primordial violet vapor was in his hands. This thing was even the source of chaos, and it seemed to be even more pretentious. Liu was also looking forward to the primordial violet vapor. System, take out a wisp of primordial violet vapor. With a wave of his hand, a wisp of formless, indescribable aura appeared in Liu's hand. Is this the primordial violet vapor? Is this the so-called source of chaos? Liu could clearly sense that this was an aura that reigned above all things in the world. This was something at the third step of primordial chaos, and also the source of the concept of chi. As expected, this is where my opportunity to vaporize chaos lies. The primordial violet vapor was the end of vaporized chaos, the source of all qi. I see. I see. Just by looking at this wisp of primordial violet vapor, just by seeing the final result of vaporized chaos, and sensing the infinite changes contained within eternity, Liu completely understood. What am I missing? I'm missing confidence. At this moment, Liu completely understood. From the perspective of qi cultivation, he could have long been able to combine the primordial violet qi and yin-yang qi into one, defy nature, and advance to primordial chaos. But he was missing confidence. All this time, Liu was used to having everything under control. He was used to preparing everything to 100%. He was used to conducting experiments everywhere, verifying his own path everywhere, in order to achieve perfect control. However, in this process, he had lost his adventurous spirit, lost the courage to forge ahead, and the determination to forge ahead. It was as if he was standing at the top of a cliff with fog in front of him and did not know how to proceed. According to his habit, Liu cleared away all the fog until he could see the path ahead clearly. Only then did he take a step forward. In fact, behind the fog, there was actually only one step. As long as he took a step forward, as long as he dared to take the risk, he would have already stepped on the step and reached the peak. I'm not missing anything, and there are no checkpoints at all. The real checkpoint is just my lack of confidence. Liu laughed heartily. The 5 elements combine into the primordial violet qi. This is the principle of matter. Order evolves into yin-yang qi. This is the source of order. However, if you destroy both the principle of matter and the source of order, that is primal chaos. The enlightenment I gain from the spirit's severing blade in the other world really is useful. Liu slowly lifted his arm up, then used his fingers like a blade and chopped them down toward the top of his head. This was the type of confidence that Liu lacked. Only by destroying the foundation of his own qi condensation could he defy pre-heaven and transform into primal chaos. Rumble. In that moment, all matter and energy in heaven and earth, all order and natural law, suddenly began to tremble violently. What was going on? Heaven span, primeval, Nuwa, Jin, Kundi, and Tathagata were in the middle of a fierce battle when they suddenly realized that the power of saints was incapable of drawing upon the power of heaven and earth. It was as if all matter and energy in heaven and earth, all order and natural law, were completely useless. Rumble. A massive boom filled the air, and brilliant light filled the sky. Then, a figure was thrown out of what looked like a huge net. What's going on? Hongjuan's face was filled with astonishment as he realized that he had been thrown out of his Tao integration state by some mysterious force. It was as if someone had snatched away the authority of the heavenly Tao and kicked out Hongjun, the heavenly Tao. Damn it. Don't tell me it's him. Don't tell me it's him. That guy actually made a breakthrough? Why is he making a breakthrough now? Didn't the imperial concubine say that he couldn't take that final step? Why is he making a breakthrough now? How is this possible? As of this moment, the saints of the Yorwild's world were completely astonished. Rumble. All matter and energy in heaven and earth, all order and natural law, began to tremble violently, as if they were cheering, as if they were worshipping something. Clang! A beam of saber light appeared, piercing through the universe. All matter and energy, all order and natural law. It was a saber strike formed from all matter and order. The saber descended from the heavens, slicing through the void, slicing through all living things, destroying all order and natural law. The saber slashed down toward Liu's head. Rumble. An incomparably enormous power was born. A mighty existence that stood above the heavens had appeared. Chapter 1364. At the beginning of the chaos, Yin and Yang appeared, and heaven and earth were born as one. A mighty song shook the world and resounded through the clouds. Before the eyes of all living beings in the chaos world, an indescribable, unfathomable, indescribable, yet real presence instantly enveloped the world. This was the chaos. This was the result of Li Yu's chaos vaporization, the source of all matter and order, the origin of chaos. It was Li Yu's own origin of chaos. Although it wasn't the final third step of chaos, it had all the characteristics of the origin of chaos. Transforming into chaos, vaporizing chaos, and finally the third step, divinizing chaos. Finally, the three would merge into one and become the ruler of the chaos. At this point, Li Yu's cultivation path was completely clear. He's really ascended. He's really ascended to the second step of chaos. Damn it, why would he ascend now? Why would he ascend to the second step of chaos while we were fighting for control of the Origin Pearl? It's over. We can't get the Origin Pearl. The owner of the Origin Pearl has returned. What's the point of fighting for it? This place is already his. When that inexplicable aura swept through the untainted world, all the saints of the untainted world stopped. Even the Tontian sect leader and the others who were fighting fiercely had lost all will to fight. Now what do we do? The group of people fought until their heads bled in the fight for the Origin Pearl, but they couldn't fight for anything. While he hasn't fully grasped the Origin Pearl, let's strike together and kick him out, Hong Jun suggested as he landed beside the saints. For Hong Jun, losing the Chaos World was a greater loss. He had invested a lot in the Chaos World. Exactly. Let's kick him out first, then we'll decide who the Origin Pearl belongs to. The 8 saints immediately reached a consensus and prepared to join forces against Li Yu. Join forces against me? Chaotic chi billowed as an indomitable figure appeared amidst the endless radiance. The colossal figure seemed to pierce through the chaos world and reach the end of the world. All of you are only avatars that have descended into this world. Even if you join forces, you are still no match for me. The towering figure lowered his head and looked at the 8 sages who were waiting for him. A mocking sneer appeared on his face, which was so big that it covered the sky and the sun. A bunch of thieves. Taking advantage of the fact that the owner is not home, they actually took over the place and treated this place as their own home. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. The indomitable figure slowly raised his arm, and a huge palm slammed down on the 8 sages' heads as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was sinking. Boom! With a palm strike, heaven and earth responded. The entire great desolate world resonated with this palm. Between heaven and earth, all order and laws, all matter and energy, all resonated with this palm. The seal of the sovereign. When Li Yu was still in the shrouded heaven world, he had studied the prototype of this technique. At this moment, the sovereign seal had completely reached the limits of what Li Yu could imagine all those years ago. With a single palm strike, it towered above the heavens and dominated everything. The life and death of all living beings, the success and failure of all things, all depended on a single thought. In a scientific way, this sovereign seal was like a dimensional reduction. The great desolate world was like a game world, and Li Yu was the developer and controller of the game. With a single delete command, everything in the game world would be annihilated. Illidan said, "How dare you trespass into my territory? You are courting death." When Li Yu turned into chaos and advanced to the second step of chaos, this Pearl of Origin seemed to have waited for countless years and immediately came over and fell into Li Yu's control. Am I really the son of chaos? I was born in the real world of this Pearl of Origin, so this Pearl of Origin was originally mine. With the Pearl of Origin in control, everything here was under Li Yu's control. The outsiders who descended into the great desolate world turned into the 8 sages and naturally became the boss of the great desolate world instance dungeon. If you solo the great desolate world instance dungeon, you have a 100% chance of getting godly equipment. That's how awesome I am. With a slap, the ruler of the Pearl of Origin innately had the characteristic of one-hit kill. In front of the GM, all bosses were trash. Damn it. He actually controlled the Pearl of Origin. That's not right. That's not what the Empress said. Damn it, I can only lose one of my avatars this time. The 8 outsiders entered the great desolate world and became the sages of the great desolate world. They were also entangled with the great desolate world and couldn't escape at all. Boom! With a slap, the 8 sages were instantly annihilated. Son of Chaos, don't think that you've won. You may have won this time, but you won't be so lucky next time. You're only at the 2nd step of chaos. You're alone against a group of us. You can't beat us at all. Son of Chaos, your fate has long been decided. Only death awaits you. After a series of harsh words, the Descenders could only helplessly be wiped out by the ruler of the great desolate world in one fell swoop. It's a pity. I still can't collect their souls and obtain their memories. Liu sighed and shook his head slightly. When Liu destroyed these sages with a single palm strike, the divine souls of these Descenders also self-destructed in an instant, not allowing Liu to obtain any useful information. I can be sure of one thing. The Heavenly Emperor of Taishan must be one of these sages. In other words, there are at least 8 outsiders who have descended to the great desolate world, including the one who didn't complete the descent on Hongyun's side and the Empress they mentioned. Liu realized that he had to face at least 10 enemies at the 2nd step of chaos. That Empress must be the leader of these people. That Empress is definitely more terrifying than them. Either that Empress is at the 3rd step of chaos, or that Empress has a treasure comparable to the 3rd step of chaos. The more one walked on the path of cultivation, the more powerful the enemies one would encounter. And I've never provoked them. Compared to those protagonists who stirred up trouble and killed their way in all directions, Liu realized that he was the one who was truly suffering. He hadn't done anything. Just his existence alone had naturally attracted such a terrifying group of enemies. What was all this about? Although this time, Liu easily wiped out these Descenders with the home advantage, Liu's strength wasn't much stronger than these people. The path is long and difficult. I can only take one step at a time. The light that filled the sky dissipated, and the boundless figure retracted. Liu returned to normal. Fortunately, the Pearl of Origin is already mine. Chapter 1365. Who is this expert? 8 saints were killed by this person with a single slap? The saints are like ants in front of this person? What kind of realm is this? When Liu reappeared, all living beings in the Eldritch world prostrated themselves on the ground, trembling. The fear that came from their souls and blood made all living beings in the Eldritch world realize that the person in front of them was the ruler of the Eldritch world. Are you Pangu? The 3 remaining demi-saints of the Eldritch world, Jin Yuanzi, Kong Xian, and Su Daji, looked at Liu with fear and reverence. My name is Yu, the ruler of the Eldritch world. Liu stood in the clouds with his hands clasped behind his back, radiant and majestic, divine and glorious. Greetings, Yu Huang de Tianzuan. When Liu said, "My name is Yu," a name naturally appeared in the minds of all living beings in the Eldritch world. Infinite primordial chaos, primordial beginning, zenith of heaven, Yu Huang de Tianzuan. The name that Liu had joked about back then had now become true. As a being of the chaos, his words were law. His will was the will of heaven, the law of heaven, and the law of heaven. When Liu said, "My name is Yu," he had thought of this name. Just thinking about it had already branded this name in the souls of all living beings in the Eldritch world. This had become a truth. Rise. Nodding slightly, Liu answered casually. Just this casual sentence made all living beings in the Eldritch world stand up involuntarily. This was the power of a ruler. His words were the will of heaven. If he asked you to rise, you could only rise even if you didn't want to. I am the ruler of this realm, but I cannot stay in this realm. Therefore, I have decided to choose a few people to take charge of this realm for me, regulate yin and yang, and set the order of heaven and man. Lights swirled in the sky, and a boundless lotus platform appeared under Liu's feet. Liu sat high on the lotus platform and recited the heavenly law. Zhen Yuanzi, thou art the ancestor of earth immortals, and thou art virtuous. Moreover, you and I were once fated to be master and disciple. Thou shouldst inherit the mandate of heaven and become a saint. The mighty voice resounded throughout the world. Once the words were spoken, it was the will of heaven. For a moment, tens of thousands of auspicious clouds and thousands of strands of auspicious chi. Flowers fell from the sky, and golden springs surged from the earth. With the mandate of heaven, Xinyuanzi immediately became a saint. With just one sentence, Xinyuanzi, who had been pursuing and working hard for hundreds of millions of years, was promoted just like that. So, the true desolate saint isn't at the second step of primordial chaos, but merely primordial chaos chi. When Liu saw that Xinyuanzi had become a saint, he instantly understood the true foundation of a saint. The primeval saints only had the step of turning into chaos, one of the 3 steps of chaos. In total, it could only be said to be 1/3 of chaos. Even so, it was already very impressive. As expected of the Origin Pearl, only the world of the Origin Pearl can give birth to characters in the primordial chaos realm. Liu nodded. He also understood why those descenders were fighting for the Origin Pearl. Not to mention other reasons that Liu didn't know, just the fact that the Origin Pearl could give birth to existences in the primordial chaos realm was already very valuable. For existences at the second step of primordial chaos realm, if they controlled an Origin Pearl, they could continuously give birth to subordinates at the first step of primordial chaos realm. Their power would definitely increase greatly, and their value was immeasurable. Many thanks, Yuan de Tianzuan. Xinyuanzi immediately became a saint. He was both surprised and delighted. But what did fated to be master and disciple mean? Could it be that Yu Huang de Tianzuan wants to take me as a disciple? King Master, don't you recognize me? Liu chuckled at Xinyuanzi and waved his hand, revealing the face of his alias, Liu. You. Xinyuanzi was so shocked that he trembled and almost fell to the ground. What's going on? I took in a disciple, and he actually became the ruler of the primordial world. Because of this, the primordial 8 saints were all taken over by outsiders. In order to take back this primordial world, I could only hide my identity and secretly scheme. Therefore, you and I are fated to be master and disciple. Liu returned to his original appearance and explained to Xinyuanzi, this time, I successfully killed the enemy and regained control of this primordial world. You were once my master, and this is fate and merit. Naturally, you are a saint. I see. He actually became the master of the primordial ruler. This was, of course, merit. How could he not become a saint? Xinyuanzi bowed and became a newly promoted saint with a clear conscience. Kong Xian, Su Daji, both of you are fated to be I. Naturally, you should become a saint. Like Xinyuanzi, Kong Xian and Su Daji both had Liu's system. They also had the cultivation of sage to be and were suitable to become saints. Many thanks, Yu Huang de Tianzuan. The 5 virtues manifested, illuminating the surroundings. Su Daji and Kong Xian both became saints immediately. Apart from you, I have a great karma. Liu raised his head and looked in the direction of the Yongzhou province of the southern Viewing province, towards the Green Mountain sect's encampment. With a wave of his hand, a golden streak of light descended and landed on the encampment of the Green Mountain sect. Li Qingshan, when I entered the world, I was Liu, your son. The light swept out and lifted Li Qingshan up, arriving before Liu. Greetings, father. He had borrowed an alias, so he naturally cleared his karma. Liu revealed his alias Liu's appearance and stood up, bowing towards Li Qingshan. This bow was the bow of the karma between father and son in the alias. This was also the final karma between father and son. I, his son, that arrogant, tyrannical, fearless scourge, had actually become Yu Huang de Tianzuan? This happiness had come too suddenly. Let me catch my breath first. Li Qingshan could no longer stand properly. Thou art the father of my body that entered the world. Thou hast boundless merit, so thou shalt become a saint. The body that the ruler of the primordial world entered the world with was an alias. Since Li Qingshan was the father of this alias, then, even if he had never done anything, just because he had given birth to Li Yu, he possessed boundless merit. With boundless merit, Li Qingshan immediately became a saint. Greetings, Yu Huang de Tianzuan. He had already become a saint, so his karma was cleared. Li Yu and Li Qingshan no longer had any karma between father and son. Zenyuanzi, Kong Xian, Su Daji, and Li Qingshan. The primordial world now had 4 saints. There are 9 saints in the primordial world, but 9 saints is the limit of the primordial world. There's no need for so many saints for now. The karma between the others and Li Yu was not particularly great, so there was no need for him to randomly confer saints. That bastard Shingongbao actually died in the great battle. Li Yu shook his head. Originally, you had some fate with I, but it's a pity that you don't have that fortune. Whatever, it's fate after all. I will grant you the fate of becoming a saint after you reincarnate. His words were the will of heaven. After Shun Gongbao reincarnated, he would have the opportunity to cultivate anew and reach the saint realm directly. As for whether he could grasp it or not, that would be up to him. The karma has been cleared, so it's time for I to leave. All of you must guard this world well. Yes, sir. Farewell, Yu Huang de Tianzuan. The newly ascended saints bowed and kowtowed. Li Yu nodded and took a step forward, disappearing in an instant. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.